Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another fantabulous stream. I am Suzette Speaks, TV host and attorney representing for the 305, all the way from South Florida today to bring you a very, very insightful program. I'm grateful to have my guest here today. He is a clinician who is going to shed some light on what it means and the impact that not having a father in a home may have into adulthood. I know a lot of you saw my advertisement for today's show. I'm sure that it's going to elicit a lot of emotion and a lot of different opinions. And I want to set the tone before we start digging into this conversation that I'm not here from a place of judgment. I'm here from a place of understanding. I want to open up a little bit wider the conversation about fathers and what fathers do and the role of fathers. I think what prompted this conversation was me hearing a lot more on YouTube and in other spaces about women being able to do what a father does, that fathers are not necessarily needed in order to have an outcome that is positive when we talk about emotions, when we talk about cognitive development, and that there are people from their own experiences who will testify to say that they don't feel like they were impacted in any kind of reduced relational way when it comes to adulthood. So I wanted to bring someone who is in the practice. Mental health is his practice, and he can shed some light on what it means to have a father in one's life. Again, I am not here to condemn. I am not here to throw stones. I'm here to try to help us all gain a little bit more understanding of the impact, both from your perspective, because you, my audience, I'm going to hear from you towards the end of the show. I want to hear what you have to say about the presence of a dad in a child's life and not having that presence and what that impact may be in the long term. We're going to discuss it, y'all. I'm wanting to open up with that intention. I want you to know that I love you. And this is only about building up our community. This is why I want us to get a little bit more in-depth understanding of what it means to a child to lack a father's presence. And again, I'm going to approach this from a clinical understanding with my special guest, the kosher clinician. And I wanted to start again with just opening up you to the idea that we don't all have all the answers, right? I know I don't. I hope you are open to hearing differences of opinions. I hope you are open to maybe thinking outside of the box. But before we start doing the heavy lifting, let me know where you're watching from. I know I'm already excited. I want to bring my guests up because I'm on a time frame today. But I want you guys to know, again, as we explore this topic, please be respectful because people come with all kinds of experiences. And I know that this may be very triggering in some way, depending on how you grew up. So I want to respect you. I want to start from a place of love and understanding. And I want to make sure you know this platform, the Suzette Speaks platform, is focused on edifying our community, building up our community, right? But sometimes we have to turn the mirror on our community. Oh boy, are y'all with me? So go ahead and drop a comment, please. Go ahead and let me know where you're watching from. I want to welcome all of you watching both on the Facebook platform of Jamaicans.com. Big up yourself. Wagwan, you're wondering what this American girl is doing on your platform. Well, a proud Jamaican here. I represent, my parents are immigrants, and I'm calling myself the best of both worlds. Some of y'all say I'm an Olive Garden Jamaican. It's all good. I still love you. But I welcome all those who are already chatting. I saw on Jamaicans.com Facebook page, there were so many people left a comment early about what they felt the impact will be or won't be or has been or has not been, depending on their own personal experiences of not having a father present while they grew up. So I want to get real with you. I want you to be open. I want you to be honest. I think this can be a safe space and a productive conversation. And I don't want you to take things personal. That's the big thing. No matter who you are and how you grew up, whether you are a person that grew up in a two-parent household or not, this is not a place of judgment. You, the child, especially if it is your reality, did not choose what your father did, right? So we're going to start from a place of understanding and make sure that we are doing this kind of as a way to really peel back some of the discussion points that we're hearing in pop culture. I don't know about you, but I've heard a lot of people say a lot of crazy things, and I don't want to call it crazy. Difference of opinion, I'll put it there, where I thought everybody was on one page when we talked about, family structure, but apparently everybody is not. Now, again, there are a myriad of circumstances that leave people not together in a relationship. There is divorce. This is something that happens, right? There are people who have never been married who happen to conceive a child. This is real, right? There are people who choose, though, also to not include the other parent in a child's life. And there are various reasons why people do this. But what I want to drill down on today is the impact on the child. One thing about being an attorney, and again, I won't be rendering any legal advice. Welcome, welcome. Drop a comment. Let me know y'all watching. I see you in the chat. Big up yourself. Drop a comment. Let's warm it up. I want you to know that even as an attorney here in the state of Florida, I hear in the family law courts, I know that in the family law courts, what judges do for the most part is to seek what outcome would be in the best interest of the child. That's what the law says here in Florida, right? But oftentimes there's a lot of leeway as far as a co-parenting plan and how co-parents tend to treat each other. And I want to get us to move past the maybe resentment we feel in this topic. Some people may have, residual feelings depending on who or what their situation is, depending who their situation is with, I'll say. If you had a child with someone that you maybe didn't like or didn't end up with in the long term, how that impacted you in your decision to either include or exclude that co-parent from the child's life. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you if you grew up in a household where you did not have your father present. I want to know if you feel that you have had any type of reduced impacts in terms of your relationships. Have you seen an impact on how you relate to people, on your ability to trust? Are you seeking marriage? There are so many aspects of this conversation I want to delve into. But first and foremost, let me say hi to the chat. Welcome, one and all. My name is Suzette Speaks Again. I'm a TV host and attorney here in South Florida, and I'm a student of life. I love uncovering what makes people tick and trying to understand better why we do what we do. And in this conversation today, as I said, it is not about a judgment coming from a place of judgment. It is about understanding what we're doing and why, and then ultimately what the long-term impacts may or may not be by not having a father included in a child's life. We got to talk about this because we have more and more families that are non-traditional. We have a lot more people who may not be married who have children together. We have a lot more, long-term impacts that we may not quite readily understand. So we're going to try to bring some understanding to it today. Thank you, guys. I see you in the chat. I'm going to acknowledge you just a moment. Hit the like button as you come in. I'm welcoming our partners, Jamaicas.com. Big up yourselves if you're watching on that platform on Facebook. Big up yourself. Y'all drop a comment. I saw all of you. I had about 19 comments already when I just set up the stream. So I know this is going to be a very, very, lively conversation. And I have just the perfect expert coming from a clinical background to help explain what it is the impacts may be, right? When a child grows up into adulthood, what the impacts may be. Big up yourself, Mr. Real Estate. How are you? Welcome, welcome. What are my crew coming through? Mr. Real Estate always showing some love. Thank you for being here, sir. Yes, I had to come through. My guest is a very esteemed practitioner. So I came a little correct. He came on the stream on time and I was like, no, the lashes aren't on yet. Let me get it all the way together. Y'all know we have fun here. So again, let's keep it respectful. Let's keep it in an intention of uplift and community building, right? When we talk about fathers, it is a very sensitive topic for so many of us. So I want to acknowledge that up front, right? But that don't say that we're not going to peel back the curtain and say what we really mean when it comes to what are children who do not experience fathers in a healthy way, what will their long-term trajectory look like? And many of you live this. I'm not going to go by the books. I looked up the statistics last night. I said, I'm not going to go there about the financial impact. I'm not going to go there. I'm talking about emotional. I'm talking about your physical. Is there a physical impact? Let's talk about it. I want to talk about your cognitive development. And I want to talk about your relational impacts, right? How you now love others, how you approach relationships, how you approach parenthood. All right, let's go. Hit the like button. Y'all get them likes up so I can bring my guests on. I'm really excited about this topic. We go there on the Suzette Speaks show. Y'all know I don't really too much do the current events and the pop culture. I'm going to give you a little law. I'm going to give you a little social justice, but I'm also going to give you some personal development, right? And a part of it is understanding why we do what we do. And if those patterns do not serve us, guess what? Oh my gosh, we can change. That's the beauty of life. You know better, you do better. So as we learn about the patterns, maybe that we didn't have control of, maybe the circumstances that we grew up in, we didn't make any decision in it. We came to the earth, right? Into a situation. And it can oftentimes, we can camouflage and say, I'm good, been good, right? And as survivors as a whole, right? As the melanated people we are, as survivors as a whole, I know you good. I know you're good, right? But we are not going to pretend, right, that there are people who are not good as a result of relational complexities of growing up without a father. Let's go. I see you, Mr. Andrew Walker. I miss you. Long time. Hello. Love and respect. Thank you. A daddy's love for his daughter is very strong, he says. And the love they get back is unparalleled. A daddy's girl does not play, especially when it comes. Listen, I had Fridays, I try to babysit my niece. My niece is 2, just turned 2. And my brother and I was hanging out with her last evening. And of course, it's cold in Florida, guys. It was a whole, what is it now? I think we got a high today of 66. We're freaking out, okay? So we said, okay, we're going to take her out before the cold weekend to get her last little playground rendezvous. And just to see my bro, it was me, my bro, and my niece. And to see them on the playground, right? And where they live is not a superly diverse neighborhood, let's just say it like that. And we go, and first of all, shout out to my sister-in-law, my brother. My niece is very advanced for 2 years old. Okay, we're looking at the other 2-year-olds like, yeah, no, she's smart. She's a thinker. She's brave. So many wonderful attributes, thank God, I can see in her already. But to see when my brother stops, right, and give her a kiss, and she looked for her daddy at the end of the slide. And I look and I thank God, thank you for the blessing of this. Thank you that I get to witness it. And understanding that not every child gets this. And is there going to be a long-term effect if a child is not allowed? I say not allowed. Hello, somebody. Oh, the lead attorney in the building. What's up? Let's go. Thank you, Mr. Andrew Walker, so far. The sponsor of the stream. We warming up, Lee. What's good? Nice to see you, the lead attorney. Yay. Hope you guys are doing. That's my bro. I can only mess with him a little bit. How are you, Lead? I'm happy to see you. Thank you for, you're so busy spending the time to come through and show some support and love. I got the culture clinician today, Lead. I don't know if you saw the flyer though, but I got the big dog in the building, the big man, let me say. I mean it in a term of endearment, right? He has a wonderful platform of his own. Y'all, he gets very deep, and I knew once I invited him here, I wanted him to do some heavy lifting, right? And come on now, Mr. Real Estate. Mr. Real Estate, Grand Rising. Thank you so much for the super chat, Mr. Real Estate. Appreciate you. He says, if you support Suzette's content and want to help maintain her new... I love you. Okay, only he can chop it up with me like this. Hit the like button. Don't be mad. We try to keep it fresh, Mr. Real Estate. Now we got to keep them on their toes now. Let's go. Yo, big up yourself, Mr. Real Estate, with the super chat. Always making me smile. I'm going to have a male panel next Thursday, y'all. All guys panel next. I'm not even going to give it away. Y'all come over to the YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, go to YouTube, Suzette Speaks Show. You can look up Suzette Speaks and just go ahead and subscribe, right? Hit the like. Hit the subscribe today, right? And I want you to know that, again, we're building a community that likes to delve a little bit deeper in introspective ways, right? Everybody wants to see the earth change and the world change and the community change, but we got to change for those things to change, right? So we are the catalyst, right? Once we change and once we're ready and healed, we can start those families. Help us all, God, right? We could be more loving. We could be the people that we wish we had, right? So we're going to do the work, right? We're going to take off the mask. Help us all, God, right? To get a little bit better, to do it a little different, to learn from one another's experiences, right? We're not calling them mistakes, right? We're looking at it from a place of understanding, of learning, right? So that we can now do better, or that someone else chooses to do better, right? So that's what we're doing here. Y'all hit the like button so I can bring my guest on. He got a lot to say. Yes, WT Funk already is. Lee, talking about with the Jamaican air only for you, lead attorney. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for your YouTube elementary, putting us on game. Thank you for just being great. He's almost at 150,000 subscribers, y'all. Every time I look over, the lead got another 1,000 people. And I'm just so proud. And it's just very inspiring. Thank you, the lead attorney. WT Funk says, culture ain't to be played. Listen. I'm going to have to just sit back and listen. I'm already ready. I got the right one today. Hey, Natalie. Let me see. What do you guys have to say so far? And I'm going to bring him on. Sunbreeze from the Bay Area says, I don't know much about fatherlessness in a family because my father was a military retired soldier. Okay, I'm here to listen and learn. Amen. That's what we were trying to do. Sending love, Elaine says. Big up yourself. I see you on Facebook from Royal Palm Beach. Always great content and perspectives. Thank you. Big up yourself. Let me see who was first today. Was it RM? RM, my moderator. Yes, one of my fantastic moderators. I see you. I see Gaston's World. Big up Gail. Bring up Sunbreeze also. And I'm Sean Denise, all of y'all who've been holding me down. I think Miss Urban Lady, I got to add you too as a moderator, because every time I'm here, you support. Thank you. Thank you. And she's also a member of my Patreon. I see you. Thank you, Urban Lady, for all your support. Patreon, we are going to go live. So if I don't get to everyone's comments, we're going live right after this for after show, Patreon only. Patreon members exclusive. And I want to tell my Patreon about next Thursday's male panel. All right, y'all ready? Gaston's World, always a pleasure. I can't wait to be on his panel, all ladies. I think we're going to do it next week. He's going to announce it. Thank you, Gaston's World, for all you've done to help me. And we help each other as content creators. I appreciate you. WT Funk from Germany in the building. If you missed the stream last Saturday, WT Funk was interpreting dreams around this thing. So thank you, WT Funk from Germany. Big up yourself. I hope you chime in on today's conversation. Big up Donna McGregor. Good afternoon, watching from Florida. Welcome. Nice to see you. St. James, Jamaica. Bevelyn Campbell. Good afternoon. Welcome. Nice to see you. Sharice from VA. Nice to see you. Welcome. Come on in. Come on in. Y'all with my hair. Y'all can y'all let me switch it up every night? I had to get funky fresh. I was feeling kind of, it's like 2022, but it ain't 2022. So I had to get a little funky fresh. We need to first talk about her. Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate, I put on I had on a dress, but I was like, no, I have the kosher clinician. So I was like, let me get a little bit more formal. So I could be there. You know, it just helps you get into that mental space. Let me get a little lawyerly. Thank you, WT Funk. I see you. Salute. Cece, thanks for coming by. I see you. Thank you, Barry. I'm glad you got to catch the live. I appreciate y'all. I'm just trying to say, Big Bad Bull in the building. Thank you for coming by. Appreciate the support, my darling. Thank you. Yes, I had a little orange shirt. I got this the outlets during Christmas. I had brought a couple more tops for y'all because I had gone to the outlets over there on Temple side. So we coming a little fresh for the 2022. But yeah, thank you for the support on my Patreon. We're going live, as I said, right after this. So Patreon members, stay close, okay? Miss Globe Girl, I can't even imagine not having my dad in my life when growing up. And even with that, I'm still hello. I keep telling y'all, 2-parent families don't be perfect. Trauma. There's still a lot of that, depending on the maturity and growth of the individuals involved. So we're not going to paint every two-parent family as like the panacea. Let's not go there, right? I give it a little bit of refraction in my light. I'll fix it. So let me I see one more super chat. Love being shown by who? Let me see. Sarah says, good afternoon, Suzette. Great conversation. My father died when I was very young, see, and my mom never remarried. I brought my children up alone as a result of divorce, and despite my experiences, I am an advocate for both parents in a child's life where possible. I hear you, Sarah Angela. Beautiful, beautiful sentiment. Thank you for your insight. And this is what we're going to do here. It's a conversation, y'all. Are y'all ready for my guest? Let me hurry up because they say I'll be behind in the comments. Sorry. Hey, Natalie. Nice to see you. Appreciate you. Ebony in the building. Big up yourself. My Jamaican sister in Wagwan. Urban lady with the super chat. Thank you so much. She says, I spoke to my youngest sister last month. Okay. Youngest sister last month. Same dad. We discovered that we have resentment towards each other. Y'all, this is common. This is common. I'm going to ask my guests to kind of address some of this too. When you have situations in which you might have the same father, but disparate treatment. You know what I mean? Difference of treatment. Not growing up in the house with him, one does, one doesn't. And how that affects the relationship between even the siblings. Y'all, I'm ready. Are y'all ready? I'm ready. Oh, to Chef say, let's go. Let the healing be. You know what we do. Thank you so much. UK. Awesome. I didn't know it was from the UK. Nice to see you. Yeah. Matter. Okay, you don't want to moderate? That's okay, Urban Lady. Urban Lady said, keep me out of this. No, we keep it. Okay, let me put up some of disclaimers. Yes, last week was epic. The dream sequence I dreamt, y'all, and the interpretation, plus a little Kim and Kanye learning about co-parenting. It was very good. It was very good. Thank you. My dad was never part of my life, so I'm here to learn. Okay, Donna. Me hear you. Thank you, Natalie. All right, the sun is shining bright. Yeah, it's a cold South Florida day. We woke up in the 40s, and we was like relating to about playing. Okay, so let me bring on my guests, y'all. We got a deep conversation to behold and to participate in, right? This is about you also as my kind of co-experts based on your life experience. But I'm going to start from the clinical perspective by bringing on a fantastic, I would call him manosphere, but he has just so much that I relate to when I listen to him. So I don't know, he had a little something for the ladies too. But a man who speaks from such a place of wisdom and authority that it really intrigued me when I first subscribed to his channel. I was like, whoa. And you know what? Let me big up Chuck. My brethren Ben told me about the culture clinician from like last year. He's like, you need to bring on the culture clinician. You need to bring it on. And look at me. I was like, Chuck, big up yourself. It took me a while, my brother, but I found him and I liked what I saw. So I am just gonna give him the floor. Honestly, I'm here to learn as well. I grew up, just in full disclosure, with my dad and mom and dad. But again, I also have my little specks of unhealedness as a result of just the pressures of emigrating to a new country. That would break up any marriage. I'm telling you, if you're, it was a heavy lift, right? We weren't rich, working. I would call it working middle class, I guess you would call it. But we were rich, thank God, in principles, in morals. Thank you, God. But there was a lot of social pressure on my dad as the man, as supposed to be the breadwinner in a new society without a network yet. My dad is an electrician by trade, but he had a very difficult time kind of breaking into the American system. So there was a lot of pressure on him, right? Pressure on the family, therefore. So we got a lot to share. I'm going to bring up my guest. He can unmute. Please give a warm Suzette Speaks welcome to my special guest today. Y'all give it up for none other than the one and the only kosher clinician.
Suzette, you're funny. You gave me a grand Leo rising. Thank you, dear. And as we said, bringing to you live once again from the greatest state in the union, the Tar Heel state. And so I look forward to this very timely conversation as we talk about the intricacies of not having a father in the relationship of a child. And I would say unequivocally, yes, I think fatherlessness plays a role in not only the development and the functioning of a child, but it also can more or less impact or more or less impede the psychosocial development of a child as well, something that I call arrested development. So I look forward to this conversation because fathers give children identity. I believe, Suzette, that in the greater context of social evolution, that when boys and girls don't have fathers, more or less it teaches boys to defer power in the broader relationship. It teaches the girl to look for power. And so it becomes an ongoing circle of brokenness and dysfunction where neither are more or less getting the things that they need to satiate the mental issues that they're dealing with. So I look forward to this conversation.
I love it. And again, I know this is a deep brother who has, and I'm going to ask you just to tell us a little bit about your day to day and your experience so people
Right.
to understand that you have, the hands on clinical experience of dealing with people and counseling people and helping people to heal. They are saying a little, maybe, I don't know if your mic is too close. Several people have commented that it's a little hot. It's coming out a little bit.
It's too high? Okay, how about now? How about now? Ask them now. Is that okay?
Perfect. I think that's a good point.
Okay, I got that. I
Tell
got
us
that.
what you do in your real life. I know you're a YouTuber. Y'all, please, moderators, drop his channel so folks can go over and subscribe.
Right.
Like I said, his content goes from, well, you tell me. You
Right.
who you are and what you do. Yeah.
So my background is very diverse, Suzette. My background is very diverse. I started off in law enforcement. I went to school. I got an associate degree in law enforcement. Went to school to be a cop. I actually worked in the penal system. Worked with adjudicated youth. Was a mental health correctional officer for a while. I did that for 7 years. And then, that was my first degree. Always wanted to be an advocate for children, but also always wanted to be an advocate for men because I knew that manhood was the epigenesis to a healthy society. And so from there, I went back to school and got my bachelor's in social work, went back to school. I taught school, so I'm a licensed teacher as well. I taught school. I'm a licensed special ed teacher. And then I went back to the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, and I got my master's in clinical social work. So my background is very diverse. I've done it from the law perspective. I've done it from the educational perspective, and now I'm doing it from the clinical perspective. So, it's very unique and rare because you don't find too many men that have, degrees in different areas, but yet to have the interrelatedness to it as well. So I'm a licensed therapist now. I do a little bit of 1099. It's a 1099 contractor. I probably start my own practice at some point. And, I just been grinding for the longest, been grinding to see men get empowered because I feel like we don't do enough to empower our men. And I think when men are not empowered, they're not at their best. And so I've always said, if we empower our men, on the flip side, we will empower our women. If you protect his six, then he will protect your six. But the question remains, Suzette, who's protecting his six, which is his ego. So that's it in a nutshell.
Yes, sir. And I'm looking, like I said, I read the comments. Everybody's like, yes, we can hear him perfectly. What you said is that you have a very diverse, I didn't know this, law enforcement to begin
Right.
with, clinical social work, right? And now therapy.
Right. So I was a special ed teacher. So I got my associates in criminal justice. I was going to be a cop, but I worked in the prison system for like 2 years as a mental health correction officer. Okay. Then did 7 years with the Department of Juvenile Justice with some of the worst youth in the state. And, I can sing that song by Mahalia Jackson. My soul looked back and wondered how I got over because that was extremely stressful. And then I got my bachelor's from North Carolina Central in general social work, then went back and got my license in special education. Taught school for about 5 years. So I was a special ed teacher. And then I got my master's from UNC Chapel Hill. So I've done, I'm from three different dimensions. Right, I'm a gamut, right?
Just letting the people know. Just letting the people know what we got going on. So when he speaks, y'all, like I say, he's not just any old person, right? We should listen because he has, again, the hands-on experience. And I guess I would like to segue right into your experiences in special ed and in the educational system, because I'm sure a lot of what you saw in juvenile justice and the what the children manifest oftentimes is linked to fatherlessness. So let's just open up the conversation, y'all. Again, we are going to flow. We're going to bring you guys in and get us your perspectives as well. But where do we begin? Let's start with, I guess, some of what you saw from those years of working hands-on with young people who were challenged and therefore were in the criminal justice system or the juvenile justice system. Talk a little bit about how fatherlessness tied into some of what you did and saw.
Well, listen, the greatest culprit, Suzette, for children that are in, how can I say it, for children that are more or less prone to criminality normally don't have fathers. Children that don't have fathers have a higher recidivism rate. They're more at risk for petty crimes. They're more at risk for dropping out of school. They're more at risk for not having educational outcomes. They're more at risk for having low-wage jobs. Fatherlessness plays a major role in the identity of a child. And the greatest predicament or the greatest indicator for a child getting caught up in criminality was not having a father. And so, I saw it all through from working in law enforcement when I was in the prison system, but also I saw in special ed. A lot of the kids didn't have fathers. You didn't even see, male teachers to more or less assuage a lot of things that the kids were going through. And also now I see it in the clinical world. Many of them don't have fathers. I would say out of the kids I've seen and the families I've seen, I would say at least 90%, they don't have fathers. And I think it's very serious because I think it's a health crisis. And I think it's a social crisis that needs to be addressed. But this thing has been permeating, Suzette, not only in the modern times that we live in. It's been permeating since the 70s. Back in the 70s, it was more or less purported that 26% of children were born in single-parent homes. But now it's mushroomed to over 80%. And so that's an issue if we're going to have what's called stable homes and stable communities. Because one of the greatest indicators to mental wellness of a child, Suzette, is something called, it's an instrument that we use in the clinical work called the locus. And it's called the level. And basically what that stands for is this, Suzette. Kids are at their best for healing mentally when the environment is suitable and stable. But when most kids now come in homes when they don't have fathers, then they're not at their best. Now watch this. We're not saying, as you said earlier, that having a two-parent intact home is the panacea to the social ills of the world. It's not the panacea. But we are looking at the odds. The odds are a lot higher when they're in a two-parent home. And I will say this with a masculine father, not a cream puff. You got to be a masculine father. When they're in a home with a masculine father that only set parameters and set examples, the kids tend to do better. And what I mean by cream puff, it just means a father that just goes along to get along. I'm talking about a masculine father that loves his wife, but he'll check her if she get out of line. It's like an old school archetype, like the James Evans, which is rare. But kids tend to do better in those environments where the fathers are strong, where the fathers are stable, where they give the sons instruction, where they teach them about the ravages of relationships, but also understanding female nature, how to get what you want in the relationship and also give her what she needs in the relationship. So I would say all those things play a role in the evolution, Suzette, of having a healthy man, but also a healthy woman, because girls suffer and they're more at risk for sexual abuse when they don't have a strong father in the home. But here's the caveat, boys as well. So we tend to make sexual abuse
specific to girls. And
right.
Boys are suffering just as much. Yeah.
Boys are suffering just as much. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. Right.
So I'm going to pivot a little bit because I know that there are people, and I again, leave a comment if you will, send a super chat if you can. But there are people that are going to comment, and I can see it, that there is also the overlay, specifically when it comes to those in maybe the juvenile justice system, of poverty and economic challenges on top of fatherlessness that kind of coexist to produce those outcomes. However, I think you're right when and I know you're right, with the trends in the 70s coming forward, it has also crept up the economic ladder, where you're seeing a lot more divided homes, if you will, in middle class socioeconomic brackets, let's say, particularly along the lines of racial and ethnic groups. Now, we're going to speak specifically about our American experience. I know you guys are watching from all over the world, so we're going to talk about the American experience, and more specifically focused on the African American experience. So there will be variations of what fatherlessness looks like depending on where you live around this world. But I'm going to go into the middle class experience, where we're seeing more and more people raised, although with economic means, by single parents. Why do you think that trend has emerged over the last, say, 20, 30, 40 years, as you've pointed out, where it's not just those of us in American society that are economically, very challenged and traditionally experience lower marriage rates? Why has that trend become more pervasive among, I guess, the higher social classes in the U.S.?
So to be succinct, you're saying, why do I feel that the need, or more or less the exoneration of marriage and family has declined. Is that what you're
Yes,
asking?
I'm. What I'm saying is, I'm trying to dovetail that what we described just now might be, attributed to also socioeconomic challenges. And what I'm saying is, it's not just a socioeconomic challenge now. I think lack of men in the home has crept up the socioeconomic ladder in
Right,
America.
right, right, right. I see
So
your point.
you
Right,
can just,
right.
yes, what you said in general in terms of why you see this trend.
Well, listen, it's a very nuanced question. There are a myriad of factors that I think play into the dynamics of the lack of increasing fathers or having fathers in the home. I think liberal policies definitely play a role. I think the sexual revolution played a role into the de-evolution of the traditional family. And I think there's been an onslaught, Suzette speaks, on heteronormative masculinity that's played a role as well. I've always said, Suzette, you hail from a very traditional home in a traditional country, from the great state or the great country of Jamaica, where, patriarchy and tradition is normal. But there's been an onslaught and assault on, black men since we got into this country, and it's got precipitously worse since the 70s. So I think, in my mind, I think many of our women were compromised. I think they were compromised by liberal policies that said that they didn't have power and that our men oppressed them, where I would say respectfully that black men never had the power to oppress black women at the macro level. Macro meaning at the policy level. We didn't have the power to do it. We were all subjects of the same issue. We were muse and beast of burden. Black men and black women were all part of the struggle. But somehow our women got caught up in this nebulous ideal that, black men oppress them. And I've always said before, Suzette, that, if we're talking about domestic issues are endemic to all ethnic groups. It's not more or less just to black men. In Indian homes, white homes, they all played a role sometime in uncivil discourse. But I think for the most part, Suzette, I think the sexual revolution played a role. I think liberal indoctrination played a role. I think the constantly erasing of the image of the black man played a role, and that assault on the black man has been going on for years, and I think it has increased astronomically over the last couple of years. And I think part of also, Suzette, is that we tend to more or less, how can I say it? We tend to gravitate to swag culture instead of gravitating to good, decent men. And so we looked over a generation of good, decent brothers for swag. And so when you choose swag over substance, sadly, you will suffer the recompense of your era. And I think that's what we're seeing now, in my broader opinion.
Awesome. And I want you guys to leave commentary. I've seen some of this, especially when it comes to, and we're going to get to the impacts just shortly, but I do want to set the table and just talk about how we got here. We see a couple commenters, RM is saying preach. I saw that a lot of financial independence playing a role of women, and how the trend of the feminist movement and the, what should I call it, the feminist revolution has led to, as you're talking about, not only just the more money, but the difference of thinking, and the thinking and the valuation of what it means to include or to have a man in one's life, and the place he should have in your life, I think, more importantly. So I do think this is right. And I agree with you, Miss AKA Lady. Nice to see you. Thank you so much. I also have your question here. A lot of us were raised by single moms. If you had two parents, you were lucky. So how are we supposed to fully understand a marriage relationship? This is, I think, also a trend, because if you have and I can't speak for it because, again, I've only seen two parents, but I have anecdotally heard, and y'all can correct me, that once you do not have a dad, it can be more difficult to navigate relationships. That's why I
Right,
posed the question
right,
initially. That's what the
right.
discussion was like. And then I saw this is, again, non-scientific. I put it as a question on my Instagram, on my Facebook, and on my LinkedIn. Do you guys think there will be a reduced impact on a relationship? And several of the people that answered, I happen to know personally. And I'm like, okay, they didn't grow up with a dad. They didn't grow up with a dad. They didn't grow up with a dad. And they said, no, they don't think there's an impact. So I'm curious, like I said, based on what your practical experience or experience as a practitioner has shown versus, what we may think. And again, there are exceptions to rules, and people also have different levels of resilience. So I'm not going to try no one size.
No. You're 100% correct. Resilience definitely plays the role, but resilience is not the rule; it's the exception to the rule. there's a concept that we use in the clinical world called resiliency theory. And basically it says that there are some people, Suzette, that can supersede the norm that they're in. But that's not the rule. That's an exception. And that person just has something intrinsically within themselves that supersedes the norm. But we should never make we should always make the rule the bar or the measuring stick. We should never make the how can I say it, the exception to the rule the norm. And so if I ever did a show, Suzette, I would title the show "What My Daddy Forgot to Tell Me." And I would say that because I think when girls are in homes where they see strong masculine fathers, then they come into a relationship not fighting that man for power, but they know how to cooperate better. But when you're in a relationship where you've never seen a masculine man, you've never seen a masculine father more or less give guidance and instruction, then in that home, because you're so used to being self-sufficient, you have a hard time more or less giving that man the power to be the man in the relationship. So it's always a jousting, Suzette, for power. It's jousting for power because you've never respected masculinity. One of the reasons why many men are beginning to look at traditional women from other countries, maybe like Jamaica, they're looking from some Afro-Latin countries, from the Caribbeans, because they're looking for traditional women, because men at their core are traditional and masculine. So a masculine man is not going to fight with you for power. He's going to do one or two things. He's going to tolerate until you get an extra strategy. He's going to check you, or he's going to get rid of you. Now, that's why I say it depends on if he's a masculine man or if he's a cream puff. If he's a cream puff, he'll be egalitarian and he'll go along to get along. Let
me add, and I don't mean to interrupt. I don't want to interrupt your train of thought. I also think there's a generational shift, because the Gen X and older, I think there was, especially among African-American men, an understanding or commitment to stay in a marriage, even if they were removed from kind of like what you're saying, the masculinity or the exertion of masculinity in their own homes. Mm-hmm. My dad and several other of my uncles, etc. I think there were times and seasons where they were able to exert it more than others. Mm-hmm. But particularly moving to America, roles changed, because women had an easier job as teachers and nurses to get into the U.S. system.
Right.
So all of a sudden, the breadwinning switch roles.
Right.
And I was like, wow, I see it. And I could, as even a child, see the difference of influence. I'll tell you one story, and I almost got busted in my mouth by my mom when I said it. I might have been in middle school. Right. And I was in a school with very diverse school, a lot of Jewish kids and such. Mm-hmm. And I remember, okay, yes, for the pounds. Thank you, Trish. See you, darling. I said to a girl invited me to a sleepover, and I said, this was when we was on the phone on the wall, no cell phone, so a phone on the wall. And I was like, I gotta wait till my mom come home because she wears the pants. I said that. Mm-hmm. I said that as a little girl.
Right.
And I remember my dad overheard me, and I was like, oh, and he didn't do that. And then when my mom came home, oh my God, bust up. You think she was like, your dad has to be so strong to let me do what I do. And don't you ever, my mom gave me the worst dressing down.
Right, right, right.
But again, in the oversimplification of a child's mind, I just knew. I was like, well, my mom's in charge now. That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Right.
Thank God she corrected me. But I will say that to say that my that generation, my dad's generation, was far more, they will endure. They could endure marriage. This young generation, they're not doing that.
They're not doing it, right.
As soon as they feel that, or not say as soon as, but I'm just saying they are not conditioned or have the mindset to say that I'm going to play a secondary role, or I'm going to be emasculated in a sense and stay. They're not going to do that. They have a different understanding of how they, and I'm again, broad brushstroke, see the role of men as a man in the household. So can you talk a little bit about that generational difference as well?
Well, yeah, that generational differences has been something that's been permeating for a while. I would say maybe for the boomers, but after the boomers, where men have felt like they had to joust for power. And I do agree with you that a lot of men are saying that they're not going to do it anymore. The Lyndon B. Johnson administration, especially affirmative action, those social programs and those social rights were supposed to be given to black men. But black men never got the power to have those social programs to become the better versions of themselves and also to be the leaders in their homes. So, as I said, simultaneously, we gave our women the power at the behest of our men, the men that built this country, the men that endured Jim Crow racism, the men that more or less were safeguards and pillars for our women to protect them, the men that were complicit in the schools that were built. They were called the Wall World schools by Jews, but we played a role in building infrastructure for our families. And so I agree with you now that a lot of men are not going to tolerate it because they don't see the benefit of it. Now marriage rates are actually plummeting, Suzette. And a lot of men don't even see the benefit of getting married either because they feel like that what they want from a traditional perspective, many women see it as slavery or they see it as something that's subservient. So a lot of men are saying, what are the benefits of getting married? And you're correct. Gen X men, baby boomers and Gen X men tolerated it more so than the men of this generation are going to tolerate it now. And so it's gotten to a point now that we've been left in a quagmire where the roles are not clear, where the men don't know where they stand in the relationship because they feel powerless. And to the point that I think a lot of times the things that women thought that, they wanted as far as having a man that's subservient, on a psychic level, they don't even respect a man that's subservient to them because most women, by nature, in my opinion, only respect power and strength. So it's caused a lot of consternation in the relationships that we're having now. And I think it's to the point that, I don't see this thing turning around, Suzette, for another 10, 15, 20, or maybe even 30 years. It's going to be generations before it get back on par.
So much parts of that. Go ahead, sir.
Right. Because Suzette, for a man to feel like he's empowered, he got to feel like he has power in the relationship. The masculine is doing, the feminine is being. And so when a man is conditioned to do, I always give, the man the symbolism of the sun. When you think about the sun, Suzette, the sun symbolizes warmth, but also illumination. The sun for the man, as it relates to his son, is to illuminate him on the right path to doing what's right as a man. But the sun, as it relates to giving life to the daughter, is to give her the warmth. Women by nature are very insular. They have to receive emotion. But men need direction and guidance on how to be a man. So it takes a very cerebral man that's more or less know to who he is, more or less comforted by a panel or a discussion of elders to give those men the rights of manhood, to keep them fortified and strong. But we don't have that anymore. There was a time where there was a rite of passage where the elders would more or less guide the young men into manhood, but they don't have that. So many times in relationships, men defer power at the behest of the ego or the psyche of a woman. And when he deferred that power, that woman doesn't respect him on a subconscious or conscious level. Many times she will abhor him and she'll tolerate him until she get rid of him. But she don't respect him. And so I'm trying to teach men that women only respect power and strength. But if you're in a society, in a community where masculinity is seen as toxic and not great, then how can we give the women what they need, which is the protection as it relates to her femininity? And how can you give the man what he needs, the protection as it relates to his ego as a man? It's a dual synchronicity. You protect his six, which is his back, he'll protect your six. But the point is now, because of liberal policies in my mind, Suzette, there is a nefarious attack on not only the family, the American family, but also on heteronormative masculinity. And it's gotten worse, in my opinion, in these last couple of years.
There's so much there. I'm going to shift to the comments just a second. And again, thank y'all. This is the Culture Clinician illuminating us on some of the reasons why we are seeing this trend before we get into the impact of this trend. So we're talking about social programs. For those of you from other countries, if you don't understand what we're talking about welfare in the United States and how many of those programs required that there be no man in the house in order to get the economic security. Many men left, stepped back, and then you had these single women head of households, and how it never really shifted back. It really never shifted back. It kind of pushed the persons who were now, persecuted by the drug war and all these things, and kind of kept him outside of his own house. Mm-hmm. But what I want to drill down on some of what you just said at the end there, women, perhaps to their own detriment, we're going to say in a broad stroke, in terms of feminist ideology, broad stroke, that trying to, what is the word, criticize masculinity or diminish masculinity may produce an environment where you're missing the very thing that you desire.
Right.
I'm like, women, drop a comment if you want a strong male leader of your home. Drop a comment. Give me a why. Yes, I'm looking for a strong male leader of my home. So I think there's that other piece that the Culture Clinician has described that since the 70s, the mindset towards a heteronormative masculine man has been adversarial.
Right.
Has been um, the goal, some would say, some would argue, some pundits might say, to remove uh, that, which I say presence. I don't know if I'm saying the right word, not only on macro, but on the micro level within your home, as well as within the political and economic and social structures of the country. I don't know. Is there conspiracy theorists in the building? I don't know. I'm not saying it's conspiracy because it's real in many ways.
Well,
But
well,
then who's behind it is a whole nother discussion. But elaborate on that because I think people.
well,
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
well, we've been seeing this, Suzette. You go to the educational system, they're not, you don't see nowhere near as many male teachers, one, but you don't see a lot of male men in leadership, especially black men as principals. I was going to go to school at one point to go back and get my license to become a principal. But even as a principal, you don't see strong men in the leadership role as principals. So what we've done, we have more or less conditioned our boys not to see men in power and authority. We've conditioned them to see women in power and authority, which in essence teaching these boys to get what's called negative socialization. And so when you constantly got a barrage where you're constantly exonerating the girls at the behest of the boys, then it causes social fragmentation. And so I saw in schools, you didn't see principals. You didn't see principals that were black men or more or less men as much. I used to see it a lot when I was a kid, growing up as a kid. But something happened after, around middle school to high school where male principals began to dissipate. And so what I think what we've done on a negative psychic level is teach boys to defer power, to look up to women as the power base. That's why a lot of times in relationships, men give their power away, Suzette, because they never had fathers to teach them how to be men. Now listen, there are some good women that have done noble jobs because they had other men around them to guide their sons into relationships and how to teach them to be men. But a woman cannot teach a man how to be a man. She can maintain him in his manhood, but she can't teach him to be a man. No more than me as a man can teach a girl how to be a woman. I can maintain a young lady into her womanhood, but I can't teach her how to be a woman because being a woman is very intricate. Being a man is about hills and valleys, victories and failures. Being a man is about more or less the practicum of masculinity versus the intrinsic wiring of being a man. So being a man is about you have to go through it. And if you go through and you come out on top, then you earn the right of manhood. And so, so all of those things play a role. I think our boys have been conditioned not to see men in powerful positions. That's why, Suzette, when men go abroad and travel abroad to date other women, the women love American men because they say they're so kind. But they also say that y'all tolerate what our men don't tolerate because in their countries, the men are the men. They set the standard. If you get out of line, you get checked because the men in those countries are men. They don't tolerate what American men tolerate. American men, in my mind, have been very emasculated. And a lot of it is because they've been silenced and shamed into silence. And what it's done is caused them to implode from within. And that's why when you allow a man to implode from within, Suzette, if it's not taken care of, that implosion become an explosion. And that explosion can look like different things under different situations. So we have to allow men to be men if the women want to get the protection that they want.
I think the argument can be made, and thank you for the pounds invisible car with the super sticker.
Right.
Thank you for showing some love. There can be an argument made, and again, not my personal opinion, but that in trying to equalize or create equity in the society for women in a society where we can look back, there was none. Talking about with access to political power, with access to economic power, et cetera, for the first, couple centuries of our great republic. In the exercise of trying to create equity and access to power, there has been maybe an overcorrection. And again, this is just food for thought.
Right.
When you create an environment where you're now, the majority of people in colleges or going to college are women now, and I'm
Right.
mad at that, but
Right.
let's just talk about the implications of that. So you have a lot of educated women, you have a lot of women with high earning power. And do you have enough male counterparts to uh, suitably fit the needs, if you will, of those women who are going to come out and hopefully want to, or some may not, but majority will want to come out and start a family. But if we created a social conditioning for the last 20 years, 25 years, beyond equity and gone to, for argument's sake, another level where it's almost exclusionary and diminishing of the male presence in schools, boardrooms, etc. And again, I'm not saying, because most of the people that still run our country are men. Let's just be very serious and very straight up about that. However, in many levels of society, have we now created, and again, this is just for argument's sake, a scenario where you have now almost removed the very person or the half of the equation that you're going to need when you get all these educated women and women who have the ability to do, such incredible things. Where are the male counterparts? Have we overcorrected? Have we done or not been, I guess, astute enough to see that we might be overcorrecting in a way?
I definitely think that we overcorrected because we saw normal masculinity as something bad, and we tend to equivocate all masculinity as being the boogeyman. I saw in schools, in the school system, Suzette, where we more or less, where black boys were more or less placed in special ed all the time for this basic, behavior. Then there was Latin boys, and then it was white boys. I saw it all the time when I was teaching school. They never gave the black boys the same amount of credence as they gave other ethnic groups, and they were placed
They
in special.
vilified some of them.
They
My
vilified some of them,
brother,
right?
my
Yes,
cousins.
ma'am. Right,
I've
right.
seen that in the
Yes,
American
ma'am.
school system. Let's
Yes,
not
ma'am.
pretend. Yeah.
Yeah, they were vilified more so than the girls because see, many times people expect boys to act like the girls in the classroom to be, compliant and soft and agreeable, but that's not how men think. We're wired to be many times, especially with testosterone coursing through our veins, to be, be boys, rambunctious, bouncing around, and and so a lot of times, boys were more or less how can I say it? They were more or less targeted at a higher rate than the girls, not only for special education, but also for more punitive issues. And so to take it back to where we are allowing, when we're talking about, I think that we overcorrect. No doubt we overcorrected because a lot of times, Suzette, that power that you're talking about, it was never necessarily black men in power. So it always go back to this same predicament again. Were there males in power by and large? No doubt. But was it black men? And I would say that by and large, it was never really black men. White men were definitely in power, but not black men at a high level that it needs to be. So we always equivocate black men. It's like the black man is the Oreo, the cream in the middle of the cookie. He doesn't have anything to do with none of it, but he tends to get pushed into all of it. And so what you're seeing now, Suzette, listen, boys are the warrior class. Your men are the warriors. The warriors are the protectors of the community, but you can't, if you don't raise your boys up to the same level that you're raising your girls, then how can we have a vibrant and a healthy community? We say black girl magic, black girl rock. Don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with it. But when are we going to say black boys rise? And then we get upset and mad when our boys are not reading at high levels. We get upset and mad when our boys are checked out. We get upset and mad when boys are playing video games. They have no interest because we have not adequately empowered our boys to the same level that we need to empower our girls. When Obama came up with My Promise Keeper initiative, it was met with a bunch of criticism and condemnation. But then we wonder why our boys are not invigorated to feel good about their masculinity and to feel good about their ego. Boys are important too, as well as men. And so we can't say we love our men while we're trying to silence our men at the same time.
That is so true. I want to do a show just about that, sir, because I thank you, Barry Hamilton. I see you, Chemo. Thank you guys for holding up the stream and supporting. Thank you very much. The onslaught over the last 20 years, like I said, I thank God for my strong parents and what they were able to do in terms of counteracting some of the systemic, racially based, I could call it abuse when it comes to my brother being a black male in the American school system. And so many others didn't have um, strong parents or parents that were available, parents who were working probably very hard,
Right,
but couldn't go
right,
to school and speak up. I saw
right.
it with my own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Every time my mom tried to move my brother into, advanced classes, they would put him in woodwork. They would put him in
Right,
all kinds of
right.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The guidance counselor told my mom, in high school, that my brother, who is very smart, my brother is a chiropractor, that he shouldn't be thinking about college. And my mom had to go down there and let her know, you setting him up for the sheriff, but I'm setting him up for for college. So start again, ma'am. Come again, ma'am. And
Wow.
throughout his educational experience, it was very different from mine. The U.S. educational system, many would agree with you in terms of it is a place that women, particularly those who are just very cooperative, I guess was the word that you
Cooperative, right? Exactly,
can
right.
excel in. And we're not necessarily judging children on their cognitive abilities, and not every school everywhere. This was my experience here in South Florida at a specific school, but it was the grade was based on like behavior, if that makes sense.
Right, 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 right.
Pays for
Right,
almost good behavior, specifically in
right.
schools that were predominantly with Black children. It was not focused on the scholastic achievement as opposed
Right,
to behavioral conditioning. Do
right.
you sit quietly and do work? As you say, most boys cannot do that. Most boys, because of their nature, let's argue, will be much more comfortable in a kinetic learning environment, in the running and the jumping and the doing, as you said, being a
Right,
doer.
right.
So even as a whole, there is a school of thought that is critical of our kind of conditioning and what the skills are that are being rewarded by the way most schools are set up in the United States. And most of the people that suffer from the way the schools are set up are the boys, and particularly the Black boys.
And
So
and you're 100%. I would say you're a million percent correct. You gotta understand that when it comes down to racial white supremacy, women are not seen as a threat of progress. It was always the men. I went through it, Suzette. I went through it a lot, many times. You know, they would say, "Oh, you speak well." I'm like, "What the hell that's supposed to mean?" I'm 6'6" and dark skinned. Having a bald head doesn't help. I had principals that would tell me, you're very intimidating. You're very powerful. Goofy stuff. I got it all the time. So I always felt like I was a lion in a cage. I always felt like I couldn't be myself. I had to more or less tap dance, and it was hard because that's not my nature. I'm a very strong. My personality is very strong, and many times I would tell the principals and the teachers, I respect all men, but I bow to none. I don't think there's a man on this planet that I think is better than myself. That's just me. Do I respect every man and all men? No doubt, from the short ones to the tall ones. But do you think I'm gonna bow and placate who I am as a man to appease other men? Nah, don't do that. That goes against my nature as a man. So I went through it as a man, and many times, Suzette, what they tend to focus on is athletics instead of academics, because in their mind they don't think that black men can be intelligent, and that goes back to that age-old adage that black men or black people are inferior, and it goes back to slavery. The women were allowed to read a lot faster than boys were. So this assault on men and masculinity has been going on for years. It's nothing new. It goes back to pre-antebellum slavery and also post-antebellum. The role for men to go to higher levels in academia is a lot harder,
yeah.
and what they tend to like, Suzette, they tend to like more placid or flaccid men, what I call more beta type men. They're agreeable. Oh yes, honey, yeah, I agree. That's not me. And it's caused me to have a lot of derailments in my career path because I'm very strong. I'm a strong man. Will I treat you right as a human being? Yes, but you can get checked. That's just how I operate. I just don't tolerate disrespect as a man. It's beneath me as a man to allow another man to dictate to me what to do. It goes against my nature. Maybe it's a Leo in me, but that's just how I
No, but
operate.
thank you for illuminating that. That is very important because I think all of this goes to, now my next question is going to be a little controversial because I want to know what you think about whether women have internalized, Black women, women of color, have internalized this viewpoint towards our own men.
Mhm.
I think there are many that may argue that, and I've seen it a lot on the YouTube space. And again, I'm like, oh my gosh, do I think like that? I don't think I think like that. And again, it can be very subconscious.
Right.
But I'm hearing this theory about, women not valuing their own men, that on maybe a subconscious level, not seeing the value of the man is
Right.
leading to the idea that, do I really need this person in my household as my husband, as my
Right.
leader? Or do I
Right.
really believe he can be my husband and my leader?
Right.
So what do
Right.
you think? That you think there's like a trickle down effect within the psyche of even the women who desire, because Black women in our country, for the most part, a majority marry or want to marry a Black man. So what do you think about that? Do you think this kind of, social impact over the last, again, since the inception of our country, really, but that those type of negative, stereotypes have somehow or perhaps, again, this is just a theory I'm seeing a lot of seeped into
Right.
the psyche of the very women who, we're seeking to make, partnerships with.
Yes, I agree with you 1,000,000%. Yes, I think some on a subconscious level and a very conscious level, they tolerate their men. They don't see their men as an icon of power. They tolerate them. I would even say, Suzette, that some see them as accessories to their agenda instead of seeing that man as the exemplar in their community and where she's going to follow his program and follow his plan as they work together. I said before in the past, if you protect him, he's going to protect you. If you protect his ego, he's going to protect you from the physical perspective. But watch this. Dr. William Glasser, Suzette, said, he's a psychoanalytic theorist that says that choices and the lack of choices cause people to have behaviors. Needs drive behaviors, Suzette. I'm going to say it again. Needs drive behaviors, and sometimes it can be an unconscious motivation. You're not aware of it, but the prevailing principle for those needs driving behaviors, according to Dr. William Glasser, was power, choice, freedom, survival, and fun. If a man is not getting those needs met, Suzette, then guess what? He's going to get them from somewhere else. And so that's why you begin to see this evolution of men beginning to focus on themselves, because they feel like they're constantly at war with their women. And it's not just a black woman thing. I think it's a Western issue. But I think it's more prevalent, more or less, in our communities many times, Suzette, because, black men were never seen as a power differential. And I think it's a percentage of our women abhor that because black men never had the power of the white predecessors. So therefore, I think a lot of times our black men were seen as insignificant. But I'm going to say kudos to your mom for respecting your father, because many times back in the past, Suzette, when the women would go to school to be teachers to get their professionals, the men would stay back and work on the farm to support the women that go to school. And so men have done great sacrifices for the betterment and for the establishment of the black community many times. But many times, Suzette, it was not given the same reciprocity in return. So I do think that there is an unconscious pathology as it relates to honoring black men, because let's think about it. Many have never seen true masculinity in the family. And when you constantly hear your mom say, I'm strong and independent and I don't need a man, then what does that do to her from a psychic level? She see him as an accessory instead of seeing him as somebody that's going to lead her and lead the family and lead the community.
Ooh, deep, deep, deep. I see so many in the comments. Y'all get busy in the comments. Ladies, again, I want to hear your opinion. Men, I want to hear your opinion. There are so many people that I see chiming in that I want to read. I'm going to get to it. I see another super chat. But yes, I wanted to get to where things, Miss AKA Lady, thank you for showing the love. No comment, just pure love. Thank you for supporting the stream and this type of content. Appreciate you so much. So when we are getting into now the impacts, I'm going to shift the conversation a little bit because I need you to understand origins. Again, all things don't apply to all people. Right. We are theorizing for some extent. There are proven studies in other, that we can bring into another conversation about this. But we want to kind of lay the foundation as to why before we get into the what. So why and where did this come from? And where will this trend lead if we continue to see it? So I want to now pivot a little bit more into the impacts and how you've seen both from your time earlier in your career in the juvenile justice as a licensed in the juvenile justice system as a licensed clinical social worker and educator, and now as a clinician. Can you talk a little bit about? I want to go into the physical impacts, the emotional impacts, and the cognitive impacts that we see when there is no father present. So why, again, we can go on and on because we've only touched the tip of the iceberg as to why we're seeing some of the shifts in terms of marital rates across, the board here in the United States and even across the world. Those of us who are in westernized countries, and a lot of people in other countries say they're seeing a lot of Western influence coming through. So we'll see what impact that has. And if it doesn't serve us, again, we got to reevaluate. But beyond that, let's talk now about the impacts. Do you feel that there is a marked impact of not having a father? And let's just say in a broad way, how? When a child does not grow up with a father in the home, as an adult, what are some of the typical impacts, if any, that you would, I know this is so broad. It can be so many things. So I'm like, how do I chew a little piece of this elephant? Tell me where we start when it comes to impact.
Well, listen, you're right. We touched on it a little earlier, but there was a study, Suzette, that was done talking about juvenile elephants and then having the elder bull elephants in the community. And so when the bull elephants were out of then the juvenile elephants were very rogue, they were very aggressive and very violent. But the counterpart to that study was that when they brought the elder elephants back in the community, they were able to ground the bull elephants. So back to point. When you think of it from a biological level, I think from a biological level that when you have fathers, kids more or less have the proclivities to eat more healthy, have more nutritious meals, and have the resources to get the things they need, not only for them physically, as it relates to their development from an emotional aspect, because kids that are born in poverty many times don't feel adequate when they don't have the proper resources to look to part from their peers. So biologically, I think with a father in the home, they can get better nutrition because they got more resources, but also from an economical perspective, they have clothes and shelter, and it helps them more or less escape some of the ravages of inner city malaise. From the cognitive perspective, it gives boys and girls identity. Boys need to have an identity. And so you need a very strong masculine father, Suzette, to give a man identity. When a man has an identity, he feels good about himself, and he's not willing to more or less tolerate disrespect from any man or woman, but also it gives him the power to push through some of the different things that he's going through as a man. So let's think about it from the theological, because as a clinician, we look at things from the bio, which is the body, the social, which is the environment, the biosocial, biopsycho, bio, which is the body, psycho, which is the mind, social, the environment, and also the spirit. So let's look at it from the spiritual perspective as it relates to Christianity. When Jesus was on his mission to do the will of the Father, when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, his mission was not his temporary pain, but his mission was to do the will of the Father. When boys are in homes where they have strong masculine men, they're able to push through the barriers that more or less confront them. They don't use excuses as a crutch not to be successful. When boys have an identity outside of their pain, then they become better versions of themselves. Because just like Christ, when he was in the garden, he realized that pain was temporary, but glory is forever. So men would never maximize their glory if they are still stewing in the temporary issues of their pain. So when you have a father helped that boy push through the temporary barriers of his pain to reach the pinnacle of his glory. But now you don't have that because many boys don't have strong fathers in the home. And, they don't have the guidance that they need to be better versions of themselves. That's why we need women to support masculine men and allow them to be the men in their homes instead of fighting them on a regular basis. So those components play a role from the bio, which is the body, psycho, which is the mind as it relates to identity, social as it relates to environment, because economics, one of the greatest indicators of impacting the mental health of a child is incessant poverty. When you're in a two-parent home where you have two people working, then it can help that child do better because he's in a different social class, to say the least. And it also benefits the girls because the girls don't have to go looking for love from different guys, because the father is the first one that's going to show his daughter love, and it show her what it looks like to get love from a man. If that adds clarity to the conversation.
We're going to add some comments. I'm going to drop the link, y'all, because I want y'all to come up. We're going to have to do a lightning round because I see so many people commenting. So many people have a lot of, and this is a good thing, an opinion on this subject matter. And I want to start with some folks coming up. If you have a personal story about growing up without your father, and how you think it impacted you or did not impact you. Thank you, Miss AKA Lady, saying, not having my father shape me into a woman who wants and sees the need for a strong man. Wow. So not having one made you like, whoa, I missed something. Okay.
Right.
But she adds, I won't stall my life waiting on one. Wait, okay. Things feel too messed up to wait. I hear you. And I'm not sure if the word is wait. So this is my other thing. And I'm not addressing you specifically. This is a lot of YouTube. If y'all not on YouTube, y'all need to come on over, because as the culture clinician has eloquently stated, men need space to be men. And the Black manosphere on YouTube is on fire. It's been on fire. I'm late to the party. I'm not gonna act like I'm discovered it. When people have been there and you come through and you're like, oh, I discovered this. But the space is really exposing and what should I say, validating what Black men have been saying amongst themselves and been thinking, and not really being able to express in any other place. I love it because, again, it is their space, their terms, and the conversation is authentic to what they believe, not what we think they should. Oh my God,
Right,
that's a
right.
whole nother ball game.
Exactly. Thank you, dear.
But
Right.
this part here, I would love to, and I might do a stream on it, because I think waiting and then going for one is two different things. Not saying you, sis, not saying you at all. But I have gotten a little bit of a rude awakening from my YouTube experience, because I think love happens and life does not. I think there are many of us who went for what we wanted in life: degrees, jobs, careers, but we feel, not you, sis, but I'm just saying, broad stroke. You can correct me if I'm wrong, and y'all come up on the link if y'all have something to say about it. There is a theory that, we're not putting as much emphasis on this part of our lives as far as something that we can indeed control. Not saying that we can all the way. Clearly, I'm single. Clearly, I ain't got nobody. So there's nothing that I can control except how ready I am and making myself more which I say visible or able to be found, right? But I wonder if there is more that we can be doing that we can control outside, of course, that man is, the arbiter of marriage and what he's ready for, not ready for, what he wants, doesn't want, is right, like the end all be all. What I'm saying, sis, is do we put enough effort into this side of being ready and being findable? I want to hear your opinion. I'm not saying you don't. I can only speak for myself. I don't know that as a skill. As a skill, we Black women, just talking about the American experience, have had a lot, not all of us, I'm talking about in the middle classness, right? Have had this taught to us as a skill. Some of our counterparts, people teach this as a skill, right? And emphasize this early on as a priority to them.
Right.
And it's not a right or wrong. Here, I'm living a life that, I'm going to take what I know now and go forward with it. So I don't feel like I always kind of knew this or maybe had an awareness of this. So I want to know if you guys think there is enough emphasis also on this part of the equation, which is not only to value having someone, but what role do women play in making their odds more likely? Is there a way that we can increase our odds? Or are we even emphasizing that needs to be done? I hope I'm being a little bit clear, but this made me think about that in terms of the word waiting on one. So I'm not saying you're not, sis. I'm not saying you're not. It's not Miss AKA Lady, not to you at all. I'm making a general observation based on some of the conversations we have over on YouTube as to whether we have spent enough time teaching our women that there is a skill to this too. I don't know. I don't know if I'm saying that, 100, but I'm going to ask about it. I want to know if you feel like you got the full message early on that this also is a priority, just like a degree, just like a career, that a man actually does, augment your life in many ways.
Right.
Blesses your life in many ways. It is a good thing in many ways. I don't know if we're taught that. So I'm wondering what you guys feel about that. Y'all come on up. Auntie Faye, I hope you get what I'm saying. I went in a circle a little bit. I like to be a little bit verbose. I'm sorry. But I love you. And I don't mean it no kind of way towards you, my sister. I'm just asking the question. I'm just asking because I had to evaluate myself on that. Y'all come on up if y'all want to. Kimo, you had a question. I'm going to go back. Your super chat. Sorry. I get caught up listening. I see so many comments. Kimo, I don't want to not answer your question. You had a question. All right. Big up, Suzette. What is the kosher clinician's view of relationships where the woman makes more money? What should parties do to make the relationship comfortable and successful? Is this a no-no? Very practical question, sir. What say you?
Well, listen, making more money does not make her the broker in that relationship. There was a Nigerian woman, Suzette, and that goes back to modern relationships versus traditional relationships. If she makes more money than him, she still has a responsibility to respect him and honor him as the man. Nowhere in the gospel does it say that, wives honor and obey your husbands only if he makes more money than you. It says wives obey your husbands as a mandate. So if she makes more money than him, okay, you make more money, but it does not relinquish your responsibility for more or less honoring and respecting your man as the head of that family. As I said before earlier, there was a Nigerian billionaire. She's an oil tycoon, and she said, "Listen, I make millions of billions of dollars, but when I come home, I put that aside and I submit to my husband and I allow him to be the man in the home and the proctor in the relationship." But the question remains, ladies, can you put your ego aside to allow your man to be the man in that relationship? And I don't think many can do it, Suzette, because it has to be conditioned. Remember, there's a such thing called nature and nurture. And they all got to coalesce together, but it got to be at an equilibrium. Nature is is in you intrinsically, but nurture is the environment. And so they both must complement one another. But if the environment is greater than what's inside of you, then that's going to be a problem. So I don't care
This
if you
is
make
deep. Now, ladies, chime in. Do you guys think you can do this? I've said this to men and they don't believe me. I'm like, it's one thing in the boardroom, y'all. It's one thing in the boardroom, but it's another thing in my house.
right,
Who run my house is very different.
right,
And I do
right,
think because of bad experiences, a lot of men are afraid. They're like, "You're right. You gonna throw that in my face? You're right. You gonna put that degree? I got my degree." They're
right,
afraid of this, ladies.
right.
So even though there might be, let's say, a bunch of bad apples in this regard, the few good apples, we get penalized because everybody looking
Right.
at you like, nah, bruh, she gonna be riding my coattails. I'm really, putting the pressure on is what I mean. And not like allowing a structure in a household that fits what I think most men desire. Like,
And
there's not this kind of constant pressure.
right.
I do this, I make this much money, do what I say as a woman.
And look at what Chemo said. Chemo made a great point. What should both parties do to make the relationship comfortable and successful? Well, I would say that the woman has been raised right, and I'm looking from a pure traditional perspective. I would say be herself and respect and honor that man. But see, when he says make the relationship comfortable, that goes back to egalitarian relationships where they both are co-empower. And so co-power in the power dynamic many times can cause a lot of issues, because if the woman wants the protection of a man, she got to allow him the ability to be the man in the relationship. Many women don't want to submit, and submit is very, how can I say it? The word submit means to agree, because men and women both submit, but we submit in different ways. But many don't want to submit to the authority of that husband, but they want the protection of that man. But you can't have two captains of a ship. It's not going to work. One got to be the captain and one got to be the follower. And so it does not mean, submission doesn't mean that you're a slave. It doesn't mean that you're not important, because submission is a duality. When you think about a symbiotic relationship, Suzette, you're the bird, I'm the crocodile. I allow you to take the parasites out of my teeth, so therefore you submit to get the parasites. But I submit to you by saying I'm not going to eat you alive. So it's a duality. You see my point? But many don't see that. It's a melange, it's an amalgamation, it's a dance. You have to submit when you're in fusion. I call it soul fusion. But if you're not able to submit to the power of that man, and I would say, Suzette, that many men are not equipped to be leaders because they've never seen it. A lot of brothers don't know what leadership looks like.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, because you're saying a word, and I agree with you, ladies. We might need a whole class on that submission. Oh, help us, oh God. Because the strong black woman trope, oh my goodness, I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. The strong black woman trope.
Right.
You want to be strong every day of your life, but guess what? We're not built like this. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Women are very strong, yes, but when it comes to life of a family, and thank you, the Seattle Black veteran, we need balance. Maybe you don't, sis. I'm not gonna speak for you. I need balance. So we were created certain ways, right? In nature versus nurture, as the culture clinician has pointed out. Some of it is just going to be in your nature, but some of it we have to learn. So I asked you, sir, I think on your platform when it talks about when we were talking on your show, and I hope to go back on your show about
no doubt we're gonna do it.
Do people understand the amount of compromise it's going to take to be married to somebody? Like, do people really understand, if you have been conditioned to think a certain way, how much more, especially as you get older, you're going to have to, give a little, like you saying, like again, the bird that's helping the lion stay clean, you're gonna have to, open yourself up to a different way of thinking, maybe that you didn't even see modeled.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a lot of comments. I'm gonna try to go back to some of the comments. I've dropped the link. Y'all very busy in the comments. Y'all come on up and come on and let us know what your life experience has been. I'm gonna try to go back to the comments. They're passing kind of fast, but thank you, Culture Clinician, for kind of bringing to light the symbiosis that
Suzette,
people really understand. Yes, sir.
I want to add to this, dear, and forgive me for coming across you before I lose train of thought.
That's okay.
But if you look at it from the edicts of theology and look at it more precisely, in theology, if you believe in the tenets of Christianity, Jesus said, "I've glorified the Father," which is submission, and then he also said, "The Father has glorified me." It was a duality. They both benefited in the greater work of the Godhead. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. When you think about a marriage, Suzette, it's something called a triarch. That ring is an interlocking circle. It's called interdependence. So dual submission is actually interdependence. But the caveat is he is the power broker in the relationship. She submits to his authority and power. He submits to say, "Babe, I'm going to protect you, love you, guide you, and die for you." The greatest gift that a man can give his woman is his life. That's the greatest gift that a man can give his woman. So if you want a man to give his life for you, then you have to submit to his authority as a man. But the question remains, are women able to do that? Have they been so damaged through social conditioning and the intrinsic war that's going on inside their mind that they are able to give that man that power? Because you can't glorify him if he's not willing to glorify you. But it got to be a duality where you both are benefiting. You glorify him, he glorify you. You protect his six, he'll protect your six. And you have what's called symmetry in the relationship when that happens.
Ooh, so much to learn there. I want to go back to your point, and that's a very good point, sir, about the impact of not having a dad on men.
Right.
Because there's a lot of leadership talk here, but I met a lot of men, and a lot of them aren't leaders. I don't want to say it like that. It is not a pejorative to shame and guilt. Let me just be you 100% self, right?
Right.
I want to follow a leader, period. Right? But it's hard to find a good leader, a single good leader, because there's a lot of leaders that are already married. Let me put it like that. Leaders exist, right? But let's talk about some of that impact, because we talked about a lot of what it could mean to women. What kind of impacts do you see when it comes to adulthood, the transition into adulthood, on men when their fathers did not raise them or are not active participants in their lives?
Well, they go to this karmic cycle of trying to please women instead of more or less pleasing what they were meant to do, which is to please their purpose and to set parameters for their life. And what it does, Suzette, in the relationship, it teaches them that they don't have any inherent value or worth. That's why my show, The Culture Clinician and the Manhood Chronicles, is like group therapy, because in clinical group therapy, it's a conditional word or terminology called the universality of brotherhood, where we share our stories and we share our pain. But what it does, Suzette, back to point, is that it teaches men to defer power instead of demanding power, because I did a show back in the past, Suzette, called that the man is the prize catcher. He determines if she's prize worthy. When you look at things from an anthropological perspective, men from the past determine what made that woman wife worthy to get the ring. The ring was not just something you got just by default. You had to earn the right to get the ring. But so many men now defer power because they don't have any standards. They don't have any boundaries. They don't have anything that's relating to masculinity. And because of that, many times, Suzette, in my mind, the men defer power because they don't demand anything. I think women feel safe and at their best when they're more or less serving their man. When they serve their man, then women feel like they're accomplished. They feel whole. But that woman...
No, my sister just said, Miss Flo, this is me. After the boardroom, I'd like to come home and be submissive to my man.
Right.
But we are not, I don't even know if we have permission to say it out loud as women. We're
right. Because women keep other women single. You know, women keep each other.
Let me get my face off of this so y'all don't see my face while you say it. Don't give me a trouble. Okay, as you were saying, sir.
Yeah. Other women keep each other in what I call the proverbial dragon fly trap. You know, they're in the the fly trap, the Venus fly trap. You know, the Venus fly trap was that plant that always caught insects and devour them. And a lot of our women are in the Venus fly trap because they don't understand how men think. And I think for the most part, Suzette, we have not Ask men what do they want, because men are the arbiters of relationships. Women more or less determine sexual access. And so once women understand that he will determine if you're prize worthy, then you can be the prize in your head. But until he tells you that you're the prize, you're not the prize. And I think so many times, Suzette, and when you look at America, women in other countries look to get the validation from their man, where in America, the woman thinks the man needs to validate. The man needs her validation in order to feel healthy as a man. And so if I had a son, I would tell my son, listen, boy, if she's not respecting you as a man, following your program and willing to, after I taught you how to lead, then she can't be your woman. Because guess what? In America, it's more women than men. So you don't worry about a woman. You treat her right as a human being. But if she's not trying to get with your program, you just let her go and you keep it moving, because it's greater over yonder. Because your time on this earth is short. And you don't want to live your life looking back over your life saying that, I didn't get the outcomes that I want, when you're in the last stages of your psychosocial development, which is ego, integrity versus despair. And that despair time piece is when you're saying, I've lived my life, but I didn't live my life on purpose. And that's when it's very dangerous and when the rubber meets the road, because now you're frustrated because you realize, Suzette, that you did not live your life on purpose. You just existed, but there was no redeeming value in your existence. At the end of the day, your cars won't matter, your degrees won't matter, your status won't matter. None of that stuff will matter when you're on your deathbed. What you're going to do, as Erickson talked about in ego versus despair, is that, did I leave a legacy for my children? Did I stay firm and true to who I am as a person, as an individual? And am I happy with the accomplishments that I made in my life? Most women, Suzette, were happy years ago, knowing that they had a family around the bedside when they were about to exit over into the glory world.
Yes.
But, sadly, and I'm not trying to be funny, but I am trying to be funny, some going to have cats and wine. The cat going to be,
Hold on now.
The cat going to be sitting beside him saying, meow, the dog going to be licking his chops, because the dog might eat him alive because, they don't have anything. And so I think liberal policies compromise a lot of our women. And it doesn't have to be that way, but you got to be willing to look within yourself and then do the introspection, to do the shallow work. And they can come see me at coachtheclinician@gmail.com.
Yeah, y'all need some counseling for real. This is what I like. Tam got a good question, because, guys, the impact is there, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. And I love this. I asked this last night, says Tam, since some men didn't grow up, because we're talking about, first of all, trying to please women in not necessarily understanding the dynamics of how to lead. Coming out of a household where they maybe didn't see it modeled, and not focusing on their purpose, or not necessarily understanding how to identify purpose, so that they are focused there first. And then, okay, I find that woman that adds to this purpose because I'm here to live for this reason. And then I add to my household based on me understanding who I am, I guess is what I'm hearing from what you just said. So if there are men and women who grew up in places where they didn't understand leadership, should they take leadership classes, or how do we remedy some of this? Where, okay, I may feel insecurity. There are men that I date that when they see my family, they are intimidated by just my family having a mom and a dad. And they feel like not good enough. I get so hurt in my, just my own life. I'm like, this ain't got nothing to do with you. I'm looking at you, the person, and the skills that you may not have, we might be able to build. You understand? Or you can start doing the work to build. But I'm not going to judge you, quote unquote, because you didn't have a dad in your life. But many people feel a deep insecurity around it. So how do we start to remedy some of these, blind spots? Is Tam's suggestion here one that you would agree with? Or where do we start to do the work so that if we are impacted, like, again, everyone has different levels of resilience. But if you're a person that has seen in your life, whoa, what he just said sounds like me. I mean, always trying to, get my validation from women, or people please on the woman's side or on the man's side, woman please, if you will. How do I gain and regain that sense of self and start putting, my identity back together, or build it at least with a little bit more stronger foundation that I don't feel like I've gotten? What do we do once we identify that, wow, I really do think I have some residue on me of this being my life circumstance? How do I start to address it?
Well, I always like Suzette to do things through the ecclesiastical framework, because I know you're. I'm gonna take up a love offering too after the show.
Take up the love offering, preacher. Take up the love.
But I'm going to say this, Suzette.
Yes.
In the process of discipleship, you have to uncover so that you can recover. So when Christ taught the disciples They weren't leaders by default. They had to go through the tutelage of the master teacher. So before you can go to the tutelage of the master teacher, you have to know those blind spots. So knowing those blind spots is getting the therapy to uncover, to talk about those thinking errors that you have as a human being. Once you get over those thinking errors, Suzette, successfully, then you can get to the part of leadership, because you can't be a leader if you're blind to what leadership looks like. You know, Ted Pendergrass said it back in the 70s, you can't hide from yourself. So if you don't know who you are as a person, how can you lead? Do you see my point?
Yeah.
So,
And especially
right.
This goes right to your point. Oh, to
Right.
chef, thank you. And guiding a woman at 21. Some of y'all only could probably do that, because guiding a woman at 25, 30, 35, 45, etc. is different. It's very different. And it takes a lot more leadership skill. It really does. To understand, it's almost like you're a manager in a way. I don't want to say it like that, because we're not at work, but in a sense, you are my guidance. You are my rock.
Right.
You see my weak places, I see your weak places.
Right.
We try to strengthen each other. This is a real kind of like, I don't want to say managerial. Maybe that's the wrong word. I don't know what else to put it. You probably have a better analogy, but you need the leadership skills once a woman hits 25, 30. You need leadership skills.
Right.
So getting back to the basics in terms of the biblical order is what I hear. And understanding your purpose first and foremost.
Right.
And if you don't feel certain about your purpose, I think we got to do that work. And then we also have to do the therapy work. Therapy is good. Therapy heals. Therapy helps me uncover what I don't really know how to articulate about myself. I have a homeboy now. He's in therapy. I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of him, because I can see his patterns, but I don't want to be that to him. I'm like, I'm not going to be your fixer. You're going to have to get fixed and then come back and go see me.
Right.
The fact that he's even just strong enough to realize, whoa, I have a pattern going on and I don't know how to break it. So you have to look back and see some of these patterns. Are you dating the same type of women? Are you getting the same type of result? Vice versa. Are you dating the same type of men? Are you getting the same type of result? You know, we have to who's the common denominator is us. And we have to be willing to say, wait, I may not have all the answers. Someone might be able to look and give me a better formula for what I don't have. And I don't know what I don't have, right? So I agree with you 100%. This is a very good message. Y'all, we are going to have about 20 more minutes. So if you want to come up, now is the time. I've dropped the link. Please, RM, drop the link. Go over to the Culture Clinicians YouTube, and please subscribe, support. We are supporting the type of content that we want to see. Thank you for all those who have given to this stream and are supportive of this level of conversation, the elevated levels of conversation we're trying to have. We're trying to help people here. All right. So I appreciate each and one of you just being here, just being subscribed is all okay with me. Right. But the fact that you're engaged and I'm seeing what you're thinking, this is beautiful to me. Right. This is the exchange that we are trying to develop here. Right. With the purpose of, to me, bringing the Black family back together. This is my purpose, and families in general. Right. And helping people see themselves for their true selves, who they truly are. Right. Not caught up in the stereotypes and there's just the circumstances they've been born in. You can be whatever you want to be, but it's not about like just sitting still and saying, if this has happened to me. You have to take that kind of forward step of like, whoa, I must start reprogramming how I think. Why do I think?
Right. I totally agree. And Suzette, I want to add to that manhood is a journey. It's not a destination. You're not destined to be a leader. You don't know what you don't know until you go through it. That's part of the leadership continuum. You know, there's a flatness as it relates to leadership or on the basic things that you should do. But once again, manhood is a journey, not a destination. You have to go through it in order to know if you can continue to lead it. Sometimes you just don't know it, so you got to go through the fire. Once you go through the fire, then you become the exemplar of masculinity. But also, Suzette, it goes back to what I talked about in the show that you came on my channel called Understanding the Inner Sanctum of Masculinity. And the inner sanctum is that holy place of a man where no person can go. It's that place where a man is more or less fortified as it relates to his boundaries and his principles as a man, similar to what God said about his word. Heaven and earth will pass away, but his word is forever. And so once a man understands that he has an inner sanctum that cannot be penetrated, then he will not tolerate and allow disrespect from no man or woman because that's his inner sanctum. So We got to adequately teach men about the importance of the inner sanctum of masculinity in order to lead, because you can't be a leader if you don't have a word or a standard. If your standard is not fortified in principle and truth, how can you adequately lead? Because if that's the case, anytime you more or less get caught up in the whims of emotionalism, then you might violate or breach your inner sanctum as a man. So all that is tied into, all of it is tied into leadership.
This is so important. Mr. Real Estate in the building saying, oh, this is a sermon, though. This is a sermon. We doing work over here, Mr. Real Estate. One of my fabulous Patreon members, the highest level, the $25 level. Thank you so much. You always support, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Go over to Mr. Real Estate. Please, moderators, drop Mr. Real Estate's channel. Go over and support this brother. He say it's a misnomer. He doesn't only talk about real estate. He talks about life and family and get to be a better person, right? Lessons learned.
Shout out to that brother.
Y'all. Shout out to my brother, Mr. Real Estate, and go support him, please. So this is the thing. And I see it in the comments, and I'm going to ask you, sir, what you think about it, too, because I saw a couple comments. Y'all scared to come up. What's up? Usually I got about 2-3 people in the back. What's up?
Tell them I won't bite. I'm a Leo. I don't bite. We show love.
They like, let me listen. One of the things I'm seeing a lot, and the women are saying, and I want you, please, if you can, and I know you don't speak for all men, you're just going to address it as best you can, but they're saying that, is it men that are also suffering from the not having the desire to be married? Or I saw a comment that said, I think it was from DO3, 038, sorry, D, that, men talk each other out of getting married. This is an interesting comment here. My mother is a nurse and will tell you that men are actually the ones who are likely to die alone. I think I saw, maybe it was Simsia on another channel talking about being a lifelong bachelor, and my heart dropped. I was like, I don't think he understands what he's choosing. I don't think he understands what he's choosing in my mind. But talk about that. Do you think that father may lead to some of that as well? And again, I'm just reading the comments. But
shout out to D038. How you doing, D? Yeah, they do die alone after they got divorced.
You said they had a plan.
They had a plan. But shit, they divorced. After they took everything he got. Yeah, he's divorced now. So yeah, he do die alone from being divorce rate.
So you said that wasn't his initial desire, but y'all left him, and now he is.
Right.
I don't think men were born to be alone. I don't think women were born to be
alone. No,
we
weren't.
Equal opportunity person, guys. I'm just reading what the comments say.
Right.
I was like, okay, ladies, come on up, say it. But I'll read the comments. Thank you, Mr.
Well, listen, there was a woman by the name of Dr. Helen Smith. She wrote a book called Men on Strike. And her book adequately talked about why men are not getting married, because they don't see a benefit. They say it's no benefit. You can lose everything in courts. You're not getting a traditional woman. You're getting women, and listen, I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but if you're a masculine man that don't have any kids, you want a woman with no kids. And then you get women that's had a lot of fun. So, women don't understand men by nature of it. When men decide to make you his woman, the bone of his bone, the flesh of his flesh, a masculine man want a woman that he can be proud of. When he go out on the street, he said, that's my boo, that's my baby, that's my queen. Because the woman is his prize. That's his prize. And so he want to make sure his prize is polished. But he's saying, what can I get? What am I getting? Versus what my granddaddy and my great-great-grandfather got. What those men got were wife-ready women. They got women that were, they have kids, and many were virgins, or they were, they didn't play around a lot. And so the man is saying, what am I getting in return? And so many men, Suzette, are frustrated because they don't know if she's going to betray him once she get married, meaning she's going to take the mask off. Oh, I got you now, boo. So now I'm going to show you who I really am. And so they're saying, they're terrified because the way you protect the ego of a man is by being loyal. You have to protect him by being loyal, because if you violate his inner sanctum, then you're going to destroy him as a man. And so it's not because men don't want to be married. I think the brothers I talk to in private, they want to get married. They just don't see the benefit. Like that song back in the day, they turned down for what? They saying get married for what?
Ooh, that hurts my heart when I hear it. But I'm
being honest. In therapy we don't lie.
No. We need to hear it. Everybody.
So especially if you're a very masculine man, and
I see in the back. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I see.
Right. And there's what I call an invisible man. There are a lot of invisible men too that are good men. But they sing that song by James Ingram, I gave my best, but my best was never good enough. That $42,000 ain't enough. So they say, okay, get married for what? You're looking down on me based on my social economic status, because like Teddy Pendergrass said, men want a woman that can inspire him. A man want a woman that can be his inspiration. I get it. You don't want a man that you gotta fix. I get that part. But a man that's a decent brother, you don't know what you can do to help that man become a greater man. Women back in
Y'all
the
want
past,
ready-made? Y'all want ready-made, man? Y'all, that's not what we're gonna get. Not in
right,
this
right,
day and age.
right. Women back in the past, was the man's cheerleader.
Yeah.
She was his
And
feminine, his
there
oscillator.
was, and excuse me for interrupting. I'm
Right.
very big on that now. I think there is a movement. In the past, there was a movement in the past where people could understand that people were not perfect, but if a man had enough of the basic, moral code, uh, earning potential, and attraction in a physical and spiritual way, y'all made it work. I think a lot of folks are expecting a lot more. Unrealistic goals when it comes to a relationship because of social media and other things. But I don't think the perfect man exists. And I think we have to also know the perfect woman doesn't either
Right.
when it comes to trying to pair up. And if that is, again, something that we're going to try to do. Thank you, Ebony, for this beautiful super chat. No comment, just love. Thank you for always being here and supporting me, girl. Thank you, Ebony. Big up yourself. And I think I saw one more. I think I saw Doug. I have the gentleman in the back, y'all. I see Mr. Real Estate. I see you, Andrew. Y'all want to come up now? Y'all get letting us do all the talking, but I'm excited to see you both. I had one more super chat I wanted. I'm just gonna try to quickly go through some of these comments. I see TTOO says not having a father is a broken link. Have to reach further back to the core of the family and pick up back the chain. I get your sentiment. Thank you very much. I saw a couple of other interesting, again, thank you, Tam. Therapy versus leadership is different. However, therapy can point out those areas of lack. Yeah, so you need to develop both, but you need to experience both. Thank you. Michael says, Suzette, I like that you said you will build with your man. Obviously, like, I don't know, like the things that I assume people know, I guess if people don't realize because they haven't heard it in a while, that is something that we want to do and that we want to build. That's what we're supposed to be doing, one another. So thank you. Simon says Simon says, you heard that? Okay. One of the most interesting dialogues this year. Not the year. Appreciate you. I see Antoinette says, thank you, Seattle Black veteran. I see you too. You might as well join the party. Yes, you have some men who want to sit back and relax.
Right
As a
on.
woman, to do most of the financial, that's the wrong man, bro. I'm not even going to entertain this. A relationship, how can you submit to those? That's the wrong. What do you say to this? The culture clinician, I don't know. This is not even.
Well, she said you have some men who want to sit back and relax, and what's that?
And want me as the woman to do most of the financial aspect of the relationship. How
Well, that,
can
that's Raekwon and Man. That's a
Man,
yeah, that's
Raekwon,
Man
and
Man.
Man,
That's and Day Day.
Day Day them?
Day
Lord, she
Day
might be
now.
married. I don't want to say like I don't know. I don't know. Words.
That's a broken man. That man doesn't know the intricacies of being a true man or masculinity, because a true masculine man is not going to allow a woman to do that. But however, if a woman's going to get the full protection and the love of a man, she got to play her role as well. So, you know, I could never do that as a masculine man. I'm not going to let my woman take care of the burden, while I sit back on my
Unless
behind.
he's
That's
sick
not
or
me.
something.
Unless he's
wrong.
sick, right.
Knowing how to choose the right person. This we're gonna have a whole nother stream on how to choose, because I think that's where people get in problems too. They want, and then they end up choosing incorrectly. And sometimes, again, we're not who we are now. 10 years later, 5 years later, we are more mature. We have life experience, etc. So that is a tough decision, and we try to do the best we can. Thank you. Natalie says elevated conversation. Yes, yes, yes. I saw one more super chat. I just wanted to recognize it before I go do a quick round. Doug, thank you again. No love, no love. No comment, just love. That's what I meant. Thank you. Always showing love, Doug. Thank you
You
so
got you,
much.
babe.
Culture, we are getting ready to just do a quick round. Do you have enough
Sure.
time? I just
Yes,
want to let
ma'am.
the
I
brothers
do.
speak.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Doug, for showing love and sending your super chat. Appreciate you. I think who was the first one on? Mr. Real Estate. We'll start with you. What are your thoughts on today's conversation?
Boy, oh boy, I have a saying: when Suzette speaks, I listen.
Appreciate you, brother. And thank you so much for the support.
I tell you. And yeah, if I can make it quick, I want to start by really thanking you for this platform you've built, this community you've curated. And I must say, you have one of the most supportive chats in all of YouTube land. So big up to the chats out, all the people in the
Yay.
chat.
Round of applause.
And as far as the discussion, I really want to commend you guys for doing the work to rebuild the nuclear family within our community. I mean, this brother, the Culture Clinic, has been spitting gems on gems. I've been taking notes, and I appreciate you so much for that.
Appreciate
And
it.
they have a saying. Game recognized game. And I must say, your swag on point. He got the beads popping. He got the tiger tooth around his
You're
neck.
so silly.
No. He is representing well for us bald black brothers out there. So salute to you, sir. Salute to you.
Well, that's that Leo swag, man. You know, like Isaac Hayes said, I stand accused, man. You know, they used to call me Isaac Hayes. I just say I stand accused. But I appreciate it, brother. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Salute to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Awesome. So he is like, oh, he just enjoying us. Okay, appreciate you. Thank you. I think next up was Andrew. Andrew, what are your thoughts? Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation as always.
No, I just want to say thank you, Suzette, Coach Clinician, and everyone else that partake in the discussion. What I have to ask you is simple. What age range should people engage in relationships with their partners? And if they do date an older woman, what happens if they want to have children too? That's the issue that I've noticed that a lot of people come into. That's the thing that I noticed. How do we handle that? I'm an older guy myself. What age is appropriate? What happens if you go into a situation where you click, but then you're kind of caught in between yay or nay, but you can function correctly? Because like you said before,
to have more children and meeting someone you really enjoy being with.
And then someone that listens. Like there's some people, even at this age, where they might come into fighting themselves. We're like, wow, I want to flow, but I don't. Everything is good, but I'm afraid of it being too good, so I'll go for lesser. And they go back and forth within themselves, which means opportunity could be lost. Because we are our own worst enemies when it comes to 90% of things, our indecision. Right. So, my question to you, Coach Clinician, is how do we approach this? How do we prepare ourselves to be better parties in a relationship? And this is for men and women, because I know I could be a knucklehead. I know when I'm a donkey with certain things, I can admit it. That's what it is. But again, I tend to be more spoiled. I'm comfortable. Right. So that's just, I was born good, thank God. So, I'm better than most. So I don't have those problems.
Well, the age range is a very, very touchy subject because there's so much around age, stigma for women, stigma for men too. I thought everybody above 40 wanted a 21-year-old coach or clinician. Is that what it is? Let me know if I'm out the game. Just kidding. But what is appropriate? No, because I see some grown men now. Some grown men, no judgment. God put who he put on your heart. But they say they want, I don't know what they want. But the selection as far as age sometimes begs the question. I'm not going to judge you because, everybody has a different desire for a life partner. So I guess let's kind of pare it down. If you're 30 as a man, how old should you be dating? Or what should be the age range? If you're 40 as a man, what should be your age range? And maybe as a 50-year-old man, what should be, I would say should be in air quotes, so to say that you increase your outcomes for success. That's what we're saying. Like with the maturity levels match, the income levels match, the things you want in life match-ish. What would you say, or what would you recommend as a broad recommendation? Well,
it's a very nuanced question. It depends on what the man wants, where he's at in his life. If he doesn't have any kids and never had kids, then of course he's gonna go after a younger woman, because he wants a family. But if he's stable, he's enjoyed his life, he's established. If he want to go with an older woman, it's up to him. It's very subjective, to say the least. It's not really a fine-tuned question. It depends on the person, what they want in life, and how they want to see the trajectory of their life. But I will say this, Suzette, like in other countries, like Colombia and countries abroad, it's normal for older men to date younger women.
Yeah,
it's just part of the
culture. Give me an age range when you say older and younger. What is typical? Would you say?
Right. Well, but listen. Every woman is different, but in some countries, it's normal to see a 40-year-old man dating a woman that's 27, 25.
Okay.
It's just normal because it's a power exchange. Yeah. She gets the protection, and the benefits of having a man. He has the resources. Actually, men get better with age. You know, we get more refined. You know, our money comes up.
Some of y'all, no, just kidding. Coach, I'm just going. I've been dating, Coach. I mean, not everybody.
Well, you're right. In general, in theory. Let's say in theory, Suzette. In theory,
I mean, I love my brothers, but come on now, we gotta keep it real.
Well, let me ask you a question. Suzette is on the hot seat.
No, hey, hold on. Let me see. It's my show, but go ahead.
Oh, I ain't going there. But yeah. So it depends on Suzette, on the man, the culture, and what he expects. If you have a family already, and he doesn't want any more kids, then of course, you know, if you feel like you want to date an older woman. I just think biologically, like women tend to look up, like women have some biological imperatives as it relates to men. I think there are some women don't care about height, but then some women do care about height. Like, I don't know if you would date a man that's shorter than you. I don't think you would.
Me
but I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Nah, just at least let me get a kitten heel on the just a little bit. Just a little bit up, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So I think like there are biological imperatives that women have. Like women tend, we're gonna say on the central tendency. If you look at the bell curve on the central tendency, I think women on average like taller men, but I would say men on average, I would say like younger women because you know it's biological symmetry. And I'm not saying all men, but you know if you look at the central tendency. So, like I say,
I think that's not being taught a lot in the Black community. Can I just say that out loud?
What's that?
When you talk about biological imperatives, I don't think that's being emphasized. If the amount of people that told me wait and live your life is a very, very large amount, as opposed to people saying like it's important that you get married and be able to have kids with no issues. You get what I'm saying? That
exactly. Yes, ma'am.
I think it's kind of opposite.
Right. It is opposite. It is like, opposite.
Girl, wait, right. And because you see Janet Jackson at 55 and freaking Madonna and J-Lo with, you know, their money and their ability to use science to make children, it seems as if you are going to have this kind of endless fertility. And it's not like that. Other people are born with low fertility. Other people have other challenges, endometriosis and everything else.
Right.
Talk about marriage as an essential part of kind of like that biological imperative. I think that we may need to make some more noise about that, because I think women are seeing kind of a unrealistic, what you said before, like the outlier as the rule. No, boo. It's very difficult. Some of my friends who just got married, I'm like, God dang, who knew it was so hard? And they're in their 30s. Who knew it was so hard to have a baby? For some people, it's a very difficult process a lot of times. So talking about that, I think is going to bring to light more and more. We need to tell this next generation, look at this, guys. This is a very big issue. But thank you. So the age range, Andrew, he's saying it depends. I think it's a lot of personal preference and where you at in your life. Because it does make sense. If you don't have children, you would want a woman most likely without children.
Right.
If you're more established and you got your kids and they're kind of bigger, you know, they're older, they're out the house, that kind of thing. I think it would, you know, it just depends on who you want to float with. But yet I agree with the point I think your question raises, which is, you know, think about what matches you. I mean, everyone is different, but the exchange, I think, is a good way that you put it, the culture condition.
That's the best way it is. I guess some of us need more psychological things. Like, I don't mean to call you out, but I'm going to say this publicly. You're a person that looks at the sensibilities and other things a person has to offer. And unfortunately, like some of us, you can't find that. And most people don't understand the basics. Like these gentlemen here, you could see it. They have that vibe with them. Those are the kind of people you have to just surround yourself with, and then it'll all go accordingly. I have a headache too. Dating's been a pain. You know my situation already.
Yeah.
But it's just, you know, we just have to try to flow. That's why I'm going to be bugging you, Mr. Commission. So I'm going to, you know, hit you up a few times too. But
hit him up. He's here, guys.
I might go private on one because I got one
private consults and anything else you need. Thank you very much, Andrew. I'm going to drop you down. Let's go over to the Seattle Black veteran. Thank you, Andrew. Good to see you, sir.
All right, Andrew.
All right, the Seattle Black veteran in the building. This is what they saying, Miss AKA, let me say. So this may be unpopular, but after a certain age, everybody need to have their ish together. So you can't be 40 with the life situation of a 20-year-old. That's for men and for women. Okay, her words. And I see a lot more commentary. Thank you again for another super chat. Thank you, Mr. Real Estate. Big up yourself. I see it. Leo Swag. I'm a little bit behind on the comments, guys. I'm going to catch up, but I'm going to let the Seattle Black veteran speak. How are you today, sir?
I'm blessed to be with you, my dear sister. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely,
Best to be
absolutely.
both of you.
Let's hear your thoughts, sir. What do you think about today's conversation?
You and this brother here, thank God, and yeah, I'm running across your channel, sir. We'll be subscribing.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, he's 100% on point with that, and I agree with the age thing because you look at different countries. You know, I've been to Mexico, been to the Philippines, and over there, a 60-year-old man could be married to a 30-year-old woman.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
That's not
And
uncommon in other cultures. That's not
yeah, and
uncommon.
that's the truth because, like here back in the States, like if you
Oh,
go
we
to any,
judge. We be like, "What you doing?" We be mad about it. We feel like it's robbing the cradle.
no, it's hey, like you said, if you got and that determination, what you mean is good man and good woman, if you come back here in the States, you go to any senior living home, you're gonna find a lot of single women. And these, I don't know if they outlive their man or they just whatever. You're gonna find a lot of that here. And okay, so I'm up in Seattle, and this game up here is straight crazy. I carry myself. I'm 58. I'm an old man, right? But I know what I want. I know what I'm not going to tolerate.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is a lot of these. I'll say up here, where in this region I'm from, a lot of these women settle for these men being, like you say, sitting on their backside, playing 40 years old, playing video games and waiting for the woman to come home and make stuff happen. And that's corny.
Yeah, that's corny, right.
But they had some women up here allow that stuff, and they're up in this region, there's women at 40 years old running around with 3 or 4 different men at the same time. Now, who wants that? In a real life, and some of these cats don't get it. And I mean, Seattle's a beautiful place, but we're on a different, I don't know, the water or the weather up here is too deep or something. But
that's how I feel about Miami sometimes. I feel like,
well,
I
yeah,
may be
here,
like experiencing something because of where I live. I honestly feel that sometimes.
I know it, huh? It's like, geez, that's I'm like, I got to press reset somewhere in here. But you're right, though. Now, if we look at this too, now let's just take it just out of me, myself, and I, and let's look at how many generations this messes up. If you, you got a kid and you're just out there being a man flinging his thing, and you're gonna mess around and have some kids, and what are you instilling in that little kid's head? And then how many more generations? His son, his daughter, and you look at it on the female side. If you're running around out there with Chris Rock said this, you can drive a car with just your hands. I don't recommend it. A woman, she can raise a kid by herself, but I don't recommend it. Put a strong foundation under that kid, and I'm part of that. So I'm glad that we are bringing this conversation up because we don't need to perpetuate these same nonsense that's going on. Like you say, a woman that says, I want a high value man. You understand what it takes to get that high value man?
Right,
No,
right.
You
I
understand?
don't think they do.
Yeah,
No,
you can
I don't
buy a
think I
car.
did. Yeah,
Exactly. And I say you can buy a car, but can you obtain and maintain it?
Right.
That's the question,
Right,
And
right.
so, if you're going to jump out there and say, I want a high value man, you better bring some high value stuff to that plate. And we're just not
Right.
talking about financial. And if you got these Instagram big booty girls, we ain't talking about that.
I'm talking about that, right.
You better bring some soul food to the soul.
Right,
and to the
right.
brain too, and
Hello.
if that man does not perpetuate that, or doesn't understand what he's in, you pack your stuff and move to the next,
Right, right.
you don't sacrifice your foundation for some clowns, And if we,
I agree.
and Suzette, every time I rap to you, my beautiful sister, I got to give you A1 props. That's why, I always catch you at the right time, and you always bringing some soul food, putting it on the plate. And I appreciate this beautiful black man that you have on the channel as well.
Appreciate
I ain't gonna hold you up. But
No, thank you so much for
Appreciate it,
your
brother.
kind words. It means a lot. Y'all see him over here. He's doing his own channel. He's doing some work helping
Yes.
veterans. He's a veteran himself. Thank you for your service, sir, helping them to get
ma'am.
their full benefits from the U.S. government in so many different ways.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Y'all see his channel, BLK, the Seattle BLK veteran. Thank you for
Love
coming
you,
up.
sweetheart.
Love to you, my brother. Thank you. Much
All
success.
right. Thank
Appreciate you, sir. Oh, TJ
Yeah.
Randolph, you will be our last guest. Thank you to Seattle Black veteran. TJ, how you doing?
Hey, listen, I'm so sorry. Me and my fruit. My daughter just finished our live
Oh, you was
talking
on the
about
live. Okay.
talking about raising children in an
Oh.
anything goes society. You understand me? So, but when I looked at the topic, I'm like, oh, absolutely, that's on. And I can only imagine how Kosher brought the funk.
Yeah, you know, you got to go back and watch it. I see. First of all, I love your outfit. That's why I give you a close up.
Yeah, she rocking that Louis Vuitton.
Y'all go over the mosaic.
I'm giving a little Janet Jackson, from her video. Her documentary was last night, so I'm giving a little Janet Jackson from her video "Son of a Gun." Yeah.
Yes.
So
First of all, I'm feeling the vibe, and I can't wait to go back and watch your stream, because raising kids in anything goes society, you said, this dovetails with what we're talking about, where you have a society that's pushing in one direction, and there are many of us that want to pull it back and want to say, no, I was raised in a traditional family. It helped me. It gave me my foundation. It allowed me to be the success I am today. Why now am I looking around and I feel like, the perception, the pickings, if you will, for some have changed on both sides. On both sides, what we get, the benefit of marriage, what we understand to be the yin and the yang, the give and the take, right? Not just about me, not just about you, but about us. Like that whole concept, and to have people that are well enough in their soul, in their spirit, to actually do this thing and try to hopefully get it right and make it successful. It is so scary for a lot of us that it can't be this hard. It can't be this hard. So tell us a little bit about what you discussed and how it relates to the fatherlessness that we're seeing in terms of trends here in African American families. What do you think about this subject as it relates to what you talked about today?
Well, before I get into that, I will say, though, conversations like this with people like yourself, kosher clinician, and other people, to bring back some things. We're not going to be able to get back everything. We're just not. Right. We're not going to be able to get back everything. But some of the things, the core values, discipline, structure, consequences for your actions, as well as rewards for your actions, if we bring those back, to set a standard, we have hope. Yeah. The reason we were talking, because, I primarily raised my daughter as a single mother. So not having the father with us being together, it put a lot of unnecessary pressure on me, because you try to fill both roles and you can't. You can't. You can't fill both roles. And again, when we talked about the raising of children, a lot of times, particularly if you are a single parent, you're so freaking tired, you're not raising.
Right.
It's a lot.
You're not raising.
It's a lot. For my girls who I've watched do it themselves, it's a lot. If I can avoid it, I would. But I salute every woman who has tried for reasons she did not cause, to do it themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not even, it's not a judgment about how you ended up there, but you get what I'm saying? I've seen it.
I do.
It's a lot of work.
And sometimes you get tired, but again, if you are raising your children, shout out to REM, she was just over there. If you're raising your children, again, the village. But I have said, not growing up with my father, it affected the choices I made in relationships.
Right.
Give us an example. Household.
Right. Oh, shucks. My very first boyfriend was 4 years older than me. Now that won't be a big deal.
How old were you?
At the time, I was 14.
Oh boy, yeah.
He was 18.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Big maturity difference. Hey, wealth engineering. Yeah, that's a big difference.
And again, I felt like, for reasons that I didn't understand, I was a kid, but I felt like if I wasn't good enough for my father to love me, how could I expect that some other man would?
Right.
I didn't, because again, a father, mother is supposed to teach a woman how to interact with a man, but a father is supposed to teach a girl what she's worth. Right. So when she leaves that home, that the father has set such a standard that she's not going to take any bull crap. Because, and another thing, let's go back to the household. If I have a friend, we've been friends for a long time. Her and her husband been together for over 30 years, raised 2 boys. Every marriage has difficulties, but what those boys have seen is how her father treats their mother. They have seen the love, the respect, the dynamic. They've seen how a woman interacts with a man, but they've seen how a man interacts with a woman, and that has formed how they approach relationships.
Yeah.
Right.
They've seen it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. So
Mm.
I gravitate to what I thought because I wanted to be loved. And again, I've shared that
Right.
my dad has even admitted, because we've come full circle. My dad has even admitted, he said, when I selected a guy that I was dating off and on for about 15 years.
You were looking at father figure. Yes.
And when the final heartbreak, my dad says to me, I wish I would have been there for you more.
Right.
Because had I been there for you more, I think your choices would have changed. And here's the thing. My dad was in the game, a hustler. And even with his dysfunction, he could have shown me, and I wouldn't have dealt with, certain guys.
Right.
Even with my daughter, with her father, I'm not saying anything she hasn't expressed. She needed her, he gave her all the monetary provisions, but she needed more. She needed the father-daughter dates, the father-daughter dances,
Right.
The father-daughter conversations that only a father can give a daughter. So I'm really grateful that my daughter found a husband who is a man that they can raise their child in the traditions that I wish I could have given her, but that her husband was raised in. But fathers matter. I can't say that, and I told my husband, I'll tell you all men, no matter how old your child gets, particularly daughter, I can only speak for a daughter. No matter how old she gets, she always needs you.
Right. And you know what, Suzette, I wanted to think about it while I'm going to this psychic rumination. It goes back to what we said earlier. It teaches our women to look for power, and it teaches not having a father teaches our women to look for power, and that power differential talks about the power of love and the power of feeling the warmth of a man. But I also like not having a father teaches a man to defer power, because many times on a subconscious level, he's under the tutelage of his mom, and the mom, she doesn't know anything. She doesn't mean wrong. She's going to teach him to more or less do things based on how a woman would think. And so having a father, people say, well, I didn't have a father and I came out fine. It's a difference between being functional and comprehensive. Yeah. Being functional is, you did all right, but you weren't comprehensive in all the areas that are necessary to have that vitality in the relationship. So functional and comprehensive are two different things. And that's what, we said earlier, Suzette, having a mother and a father is not the panacea. It does not guarantee, but we got to look at the odds. The odds of a child being more sustainable are greater in a two-parent intact family with a strong father versus those that come in single-parent raised home. It doesn't mean you can't be in a single-parent home and do well. You can
make it, yes, of course.
But that's the exception. That's not the rule.
Absolutely.
Even when we think about good times. I'm gonna do a cocktails and conversations on good times. The father.
Oh, James Evans. I love
James Evans. He wasn't playing.
James Evans didn't play.
Ooh.
He had rules.
That's right.
He had rules. He had standards. There were going to be consequences and repercussions.
That's right.
The mom, she was a wife. She supported her husband. She knew how to calm the savage beast.
Boom. Right. Exactly. Right.
And when she had to get with him, say, hey, raise her voice, she didn't do it in front of the kids.
Yeah.
For the most part, unless it was crazy.
Help us to be those parents, God. Help us to be those parents and to model that type of behavior. No, we want a marriage, but we ain't ready for it, though.
They ain't ready for it. They ain't ready for it.
Because the type of things that you're going to have to do, the type of soul searching you're going to have to do, so that you always come from a place of respect and love and not ego.
Right.
And not brokenness.
Right.
That's really, we got broken people marrying broken people, and then it's more brokenness.
Right.
And that is all of us, me included, all of us have broken areas of our lives. But again, we want to overcompensate with the money and the career and the this and the that. And that don't make up for it. You can't really love them till you love you. Okay, I'm stopping. We're going to give everybody else a word.
Preach.
Y'all want to keep the conversation going, but I gotta get to my Patreon. My Patreon, they gonna get a little last say. I really appreciate y'all. TJ, go ahead and make your last point, and I'm gonna finish with the kosher clinician has done an excellent job of really expounding on this conversation and all the different aspects of where it came from, how it manifests and the impact. So TJ, go ahead and make your final point, my darling. And again, I can't wait to watch your stream on raising
I'm gonna go back
kids
and watch the replay of this because it's so. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna share it on my channel because it's so necessary. And I think the way we turn the tide, and again, we just can't go back all the way. It's just not. It's not feasible. But we can restore some things.
Right.
Yeah. And those who want to get it, who want to learn, who want to be better, will. And those are the people that we're speaking to.
Yes. Yeah, this ain't for everybody. This is what I'm realizing. Even as my message is going to get more bolder, kosher clinician and TJ, I'm listening. I'm thinking about what people going to take you or not take you, right? And that's okay. It is not going to necessarily reach everyone. And you're going to have to be okay with people like really wanting to push back because of their indoctrination, their life experience, and who they are or what they believe and want to validate. But it's okay. We still gonna do some cleanup crew work where we can touch who we can, give them different tools in their toolbox where they lacked tools, and have hopefully a renaissance of our folks, our people getting this together. I'm not just getting the bag.
Suzette, I'm going to hold your hand on the George Pettis Bridge. Dr. King said we got some tough days ahead, but somehow we're going to make it.
Yes,
I haven't got you, dear. TJ, I'm working on the kaleidoscope with Gen X Nexus. I don't think Suzette is a Gen X. I think she's a millennial.
But I'm definitely millennial. Sorry.
Oh yeah. She's a baby. She's a youngin.
Are you?
But I have a lot of mindset like a Gen Xer though. Thank God for my parents. So I see both. I'm a very good mix of both because I kind of think like them. But no, I'm a millennial. Thank you very much.
Are you available on Monday, kosher?
What time?
At 6 Central Time.
I'll let you know.
Let y'all show up then. Go ahead and sit.
Let me look at my itinerary.
Yeah, because again, we're talking about the Evans, and I would love to get your perspective on that family. So
hit the like button.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm out.
TJ, you can hit him in a private chat. Hit him in a private chat, though. You can hit him in a private chat. Let him know where you want him to come. He's a man in demand. I get it. So no, I'm glad you came over though, TJ. Can't wait to go watch your stream. Y'all see her name, TJ Randolph. She's Mosaic with TJ Randolph on YouTube. Go and subscribe. Thank you, moderators, for dropping her channel. Thank you, darling. I appreciate you. I'm just going to drop you down. If you need to message him, please message him, okay? So thank you for the Cash App. I saw you so much, Jamal. Fully love. Thank you for the love. Thank you to all my stream sponsors. I'm going to give the Culture Clinician the last word, but I'm so grateful again that we can get a little deeper than what you normally see on social media, what you normally see on YouTube. There are thinking men and women that want good information, that want deep dive discussion. And that's what we're trying to do here on Suzette Speaks, as well as the Kosher Clinician. We're building, guys. I can't wait till both of us hit like 10,000 so those people can understand what we're doing, right? We babies right now. I'm just enjoying the moment. This is like the small beginnings, but we're not going to discount them, right? So y'all get to see where we are, how we are going to hopefully have more of a voice. Praise God. If God sees fit, but most importantly with your support. So I'm going to throw the Cash App up there. Y'all see it. Hit me up if you can. Also, the show sponsors, I'm going to thank you 1,000 times again. And then I have a Patreon. So I'm going to go on the Patreon, probably like 2:45. Y'all give me about 15 minutes. And we're going to finish up and tie up the loose ends and hear from our patrons in the after show. So the Patreon community is an exclusive community with information and stories and conversations that won't be on YouTube, right? I'm going to give you a little bit behind the scenes-ish, maybe. And they get the one-on-one small group intimate setting discussions going over there. So if you want to become a Patreon member, you see it on your screen, patreon.com/Suzette Speaks. So I'm going to give the floor back to the Kosher Clinician. Y'all subscribe to his channel. This is the type of conversation we're going to have. And I'm going to return the favor. Hopefully I'll be back over at his channel. And we had some good points I think I'm gonna have to chew on even after this. That's what this is about, food for thought that hopefully builds your internal man or woman, right? That's what we're doing here. So where do we go from here, sir? We realize, yes, there's an impact. There is an impact, guys.
Well, listen, Yes, but where do we go from here? That's a great question. This show was a good one. Listen, with your permission, I might even cut a couple of clips and
Oh
put them up.
yes,
You did such a good job.
absolutely,
But
absolutely.
I think where we go from here, we have to be very unapologetic in our pronouncements. We have to be willing, Suzette, to speak truth to power, with the understanding there might be retaliation. We cannot continue to more or less meander around the issue. We have to more or less deal with those more important issues and to talk the truth and to speak the truth with power, conviction, and clarity. And I think we got to start understanding the importance of mental health awareness and also therapy. Every therapist is not a competent therapist. That's why therapy don't always work for some people. But therapy is research based and it's research validated. Many of the treatment models are research based and validated. And based on the dissemination of that therapy, the competence of that therapy, and that therapist knowing how to more or less meet the broader demands of the populace, then therapy is very efficient. But therapy, once again, is a collaboration where the therapist is doing his work and the person is working. But if the person is not working, the therapist is not doing his job, the therapist is not competent, and they're not willing to have what's called a therapeutic alliance, then therapy will not work. But therapy is very viable if the person worked the process. So we got to get to the mental healing. We got to be willing to speak the truth with clarity and conviction, and we got to understand how many of our men and women have been compromised by policies that are not necessarily beneficial to the broader kaleidoscope of the Black community.
Wow, we got to. Sorry, new Patreon member. Hold on. Let me get a new Patreon member lined up. I just had someone join my Patreon. Y'all heard what he said. Unapologetic Express. Thank you, new patron Sheena B. Ooh, child, you coming on over, Sheena? Let me drop the link over on my Patreon again for you. I'm going to have to definitely sorry to break that chain of thought because I wanted to respond directly to that, but I don't want to forget that I got a new patron. Thank you so much for investing in me and you at the same time. Sheena B, big up yourself, big up the Cash App again from Michelle. Michelle, thank you for the Cash App. So as he said, speaking up, when we're in these conversations with our sister friends, with our male friends, within our circles, at our church,
Right.
I ain't never seen a church with so much. Y'all got mostly married people at your church, or if I don't know if you go to church, but I mean, in general, it's so much single people everywhere.
Right.
So we got ministering to do. And we have to be, unapologetic about, you guys, what are we teaching and what do we believe that's not serving us as a whole, us as individuals, but most importantly, us as a whole. And where might we both, men and women, need to compromise?
Right.
Do the work. Start there. Right? Your life, your purpose. Your life, your purpose. Let's get there first. Right? At peace with myself, forgiving myself. Have I done that yet? Right?
Right.
Then I can build. Then I can seek other people. But when the peace of your soul is kind of being, it's challenged by these very circumstances that we were talking about today, right? Not having a dad, growing up in extreme poverty, all kinds of stuff. 2-parent households got it too. Hello, we're not trying to say everybody, is exempt. But whatever that trauma comes from, if it's not addressed, and you see the culture clinician, thank you again, new member Sheena B. The culture clinician is a resource, right? You do virtual counseling as well, correct? So
and it's non-diagnostic because you're a lawyer, I'm a therapist. So it's we talk about a condition called comity. So I can't give you a diagnosis because it's illegal, but I can't give you parameters
for
around.
his state. He can. You're like a lawyer. I can only practice in Florida. Y'all stop emailing me about what's going on in Illinois. I don't know what's going on in Illinois, but if it's a Florida case, I can take it. Same kind of rules he has. I get you. That he's not going to be able to diagnose per se if you're not in Virginia.
Well, I'm in the state of North Carolina. Even in I don't have my own private practice yet, but I might look into that at some point.
You better get your own private practice.
Yeah, I know. I need to. I need to.
Knowledge, sir.
Right. I appreciate it.
So whether he himself or he puts you in the right direction, whatever, we need folks that are okay with saying I'm not okay, saying my patterns, looking back, or I can do better, right? And saying to myself, I'm gonna participate, hopefully, in forums like this, send somebody this, share this, and start a conversation.
No doubt.
That way, within your circle, within your, like I say, churches, whoever, we can really get down to business, y'all, because something got to change. We can't
Something
save
gotta change.
everybody.
Right.
Shout out to Friendsgiving for that final. Y'all see his name. Remember, guys, I go live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I'm gonna do a quick switch. Or actually, I keep on the same close to over the Patreon for my brand new Patreon member. Thank you so much for your support. All love, and again to the kosher clinician, bringing the funk today. I'm so grateful for my brother in this space. We are going to continue to have conversations, guys, that, like I said, educate and elevate, even challenge. Let's do it. Let's do it. We got to challenge a little bit to, get uncomfortable to see where our room for growth can occur. Help me, God. Help me. Help me. Right? I'm not perfect. I ain't got all the answers, right?
Right.
We're in this together, guys. This is a process of evolution. That's what we want. We don't want to be the same as 2021. We don't want to be the same as when we were growing up. Now that we know better, we can do better. So big up to the culture clinician. Any final words, sir? I'm just so grateful. I'm gonna have to read a couple more things in the chat, but you got to go.
No, listen. You're so kind, man. I love your energy. You're very effervescent. I will say this is some of the greatest. When you look at some of the men that were more or less complicit in bad behavior, it all went back to fatherlessness or the lack of adequate parenting as a father. From Michael Jackson to some of the serial killers, to some of the soul singers, like one of the guys, David Ruffin from the Temptations. Actually, David Ruffin bloodline is from my county, my city. But they all had a negative connection with their fathers, and so everything disseminates from the father, good or bad. And it can change the trajectory of a person as it relates to them getting caught up in abusive relationships, not knowing what power they possess as men, more or less getting caught up in lack of having validation. Therefore, they develop what's called alter egos. It all plays back to the essential elements of having a healthy, loving father, no different than the Father who is in heaven. The Bible says he's the shadow of all lights. And so, just like there's a good father in heaven, men need good fathers on earth as is in heaven, to get the best outcomes in order to become successful as men, and also to be leaders and examples, and also coverings for our women and our children.
Ooh, that's the word. Help us all, God, to do the work to repair. No one's perfect. No one had the rule book. But help us if we need it to do the work to repair. I'm out, y'all. I love y'all. I love this gentleman here. Thank you to the kosher clinician for coming over, blessing us. It's been a pleasure, sir. Thank you so much. I hope to see you very soon.
Oh, we're gonna definitely do it again.
We got to, sir. We got to. Thank you, like-minded people. I'm grateful for you. Thank you very much. Y'all go subscribe. Woo, I'm tired and I feel it. And I'm tired. And my soul tired. That's what I mean. Not tired, but like my soul. I'm just like, I hope y'all got some good meat for the soul today. That's what we're doing. We're building, like I said, everybody's like, oh, mental health. I'm like, do we really know what it means though? And how can it be applied? And again, the origins of the issue sometimes are the hardest to face. But guys, once we face them, once we face the music, help us, oh God. Once we face the music, we could do work. We can do work. So I'm grateful for men like the culture clinician and so many others, all my past guests. Thank you. Thank you for bringing your wisdom and your experiences to the channel to hopefully help impact someone else, right? Small impacts, I don't care. It is just as important. Just as important, right? We soon get in front of 10,000 people. Don't worry. We soon get there. Hey, but everybody who's here, I value you. I thank you for rocking with me. I thank you for rocking with the channel. I thank you for everyone who has subscribed. Your subscription to my channel means so much to me. Thank you, everybody who lends me their eyeballs when it comes through. Comments, right? If you're able to do the chats and the super chat, even better. But just being my subscriber, that's a big deal, guys. That's a big deal. So I want to thank each and every one of you. On your way out, hit the like button. Patreon, just look for me in about 10 minutes. Give me a quick refresh. Grab some water. I just want to, while it's still in my spirit, a lot of you probably have more to say. Again, we want to do it in a more controlled, private environment. So the Patreon is where we do a little bit more deep dive into all things. I got to add Friendsgiving to my sponsor list. Let me give Friendsgiving her shout out. Friendsgiving, I see you. Thank you very much for your super chat. No no comment, just the super chat. Let me give up my sponsors. I think the sponsor, y'all might be tied again. Don't. I think the top tie was No, it's not a tie. Mr. Real Estate. Mr. Real Estate been killing it. I was thinking about who gave Mr. Real Estate for sure is the sponsor of today's stream. Let me show the sponsor roles. I hope I got everybody that gave their wonderful donation. Oh, I need to add Michelle on the Cash App. Thank you, Michelle, for the last minute Cash App. Oh, I can't, Michelle. I hope I can fit everybody, Michelle. Hopefully it saves. Will it save? I have too many sponsors. I can't even save this. Okay. Big up Friendsgiving. Big up Michelle. Oh, darn. Can I save this? Juicy. Juicy. All right. Let me see if I can do it as a ticker. I got to say thank you. Sorry. Let's see. Can I do it as a scroll? I can. All right. So we're scrolling one more time. My sponsors of today. My sponsor, top sponsor, show sponsor is Mr. Real Estate, and all of my sponsors. There we go. Okay. Mr. Real Estate, big up yourself. Andrew Walker, big up yourself. Trish, big up yourself. Invisible Car. Yay. Barry Hamilton. Thank you. Kibo C. Thank you very much. Miss AKA Lady Jamal Fully Love. Big up yourself. Thank you. The Seattle Black Veteran. Thank you. And Friendsgiving. Thank you. And Michelle. And to my new patron, woohoo, Sheena. Can't wait to see you. I'm going to be on for the after show. If you want to come on over, come talk to me on Patreon. Love to have you as a part of my community. We're building. I think we're like 15 strong over there. So grateful. Can't believe it. Little by little, y'all, little by little. So if you want to join the Patreon, if you don't know what I'm talking about, come visit me over on patreon.com. It's a sister website for YouTube where we content creators can offer exclusive content not found on YouTube, right? So if you're considering being a member, come on over. I think I'm going to also, I have to do it on YouTube too, offer it on YouTube as the YouTube membership. I got to do that and activate that too. So I'm getting used to all the bells and whistles, but it's already set up on Patreon. We've had a couple of good conversations. We're going to have special guest, Mr. Wealth Engineering, on February 12th. I don't think we've set a time yet. So February 12th will be in-depth dive conversation, not on YouTube at all, just for Patreon members. I think I'm not going to tell you the subject. I'll let the patrons, the cool kids get on there. But thank you from the bottom of my heart for all y'all that support me on Patreon. It means so much. Thank you. And to my new member, big up yourself, Miss Sheena B. Just joined the Patreon. I just got the email. Appreciate you so much for your pledge and for showing some love. All right. So y'all hit me up. Give me about 10 minutes. We're headed over for the after show. Big up yourselves to all my patrons. Come on over. Join the fam. Thank you to all the show sponsors. Big up yourself. And I appreciate, oh Lord, they had me one last one. Thank you. I see it. Hit the like button on your way out. Yeah, Kosher definitely needs a repeat. I would agree with you, Ebony. I would definitely have him back. He's so insightful. Deep brother. Deep brother. Yes, the after show. Thank you, Sunbreeze. Holding me down. New moderator. Thank you so much. Excellent job. I've seen you throughout the chat. Gail, I know you're the busiest lady, so when you could come over and help out with the moderation, thank you so much. You see Kosher Clinician's email there. So if you want to email him, non-diagnostic appointment, or even, collab with him on the YouTube space, whatever, kosherclinician@gmail.com, y'all hook him up and please subscribe to his channel. I really want to show him support. Thank you, RM. Thank you so much, Trish. Thank you so much for being a show sponsor. Ode to Chef. I'm glad you enjoyed. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And Ebony, with the final super chat. Round of applause for all y'all that continuously support what we're trying to build here, right? This is oh my goodness, arduous process. We content creators put a lot of effort and thought into what we're doing. It can often conflict with us trying to, do our jobs in whatever sense that we still have to do what we got to do. But hopefully the transition slowly into doing this is what I want. So hopefully that will go, as planned with your support. So thank you so much to all of y'all. Ebony, big up yourself. Thank you for that again. No chat, no comment, just love. Thank you to my sister Ebony X. I always say thank you very much. Barry, thank you. I was going to say Bernard and Barry at the same time. Barry, thank you so much. Bernard, I'll see you on the Patreon in like 5 minutes. Okay, I really need to break. Oh, Heather, big up yourself. Good to see you, my homegirl. Nice to see you. Glad you could stop by. Friendsgiving, thank you. Appreciate you, darling. See y'all live. I'm going to run some clips, though, and then the next live will be Tuesday. I'm going to also do hopefully, if I go to this event, if it's not freezing and that event stays, I think it's outdoor, we'll see. I'm going to do a behind the scenes Patreon only while I'm out and about in my so y'all can see a little bit of what I do when I host and when I do other things, and support both on the journalism side, political side, and anything I'm doing there. I want to give my Patreon a little bit of extra, so we're gonna try that. Let's see how it goes. Hope you guys enjoy. Thank you so much. Happy Saturday, y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed the show. All right, I got to go. You like it? Oh, okay. Thank you. This was part of my new tops that I got. So glad you liked it. Thank you to the kosher clinician. Thank you for adding your voice, your wisdom, your expertise to all of that. Anyway, bump you, Snuggles. You so funny. Anyway, bump you anyway. Love you too, Snuggles. Anyway, I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Look out for some clips throughout the week. All right. I really got to go. Big up yourself. I'll see you on Patreon in like 5 minutes. All right. Big up yourself, guys. Take care for the after show. Can't wait to hear what you had to say. And I want to ask you about my all-male panel next Thursday, Patreons only. All right. Love you. Thank you. Shout out to Jamaicans.com for the co-sponsorship and the co-hosting of today on your platform. Wherever you watch it, YouTube. I love y'all. Appreciate the support. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining the conversation. All right. Bye, guys. Take care of yourselves. And thank you again to all my show sponsors. Thank you. 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 Thank you to all my show sponsors. Again, without you, there's no building of an actual channel and improving what we do as YouTubers. All right. You soon see a different background. Don't worry yourself. You soon see a different background. All right. Love on, big up on yourself. Hit the like button. Final time. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. All right. I'm gone for real. I'll see you on Patreon for all my patrons. Love y'all. Take care. Have a great day.